What's happening? The Bossmack Topsoil is live in the morning. Salute to the motherfucker. Salute to everybody. It is going up right now. The trial is going up right now. It's going up right now. Let me tap in and get the vibrations right. Salute to everybody out there this fine Monday morning. What's up with it? 5 Snug Ways, Joe Blast. Yeah. Let me see. Let me get this shit up here, man. Let me get this up. Air date 20. Day 20. They are going.
There were communications amongst Mr. Depp and his physician and others.
Salute.
And what did you specifically review in those texts relating to the finger injury?
Well, with relation to the finger, there was a text where he had stated he cut his finger off.
Now, Dr. Moore, I'm going to ask you some questions about this case regarding the opinions that you formed relating to Mr. Depp's finger injury. When I ask you those questions, do you agree to answer my questions to a reasonable degree of medical probability?
Yes.
Do I sound all right out there?
Advise the jury and the court.
Is it coming in clear? Any
you are
technical
not answering any of
difficulties?
them
What's
to a
up with it,
reasonable degree of
everybody?
Medical probability.
Yes.
Dr. Moore, based on your analysis, did Mr. Depp's finger injury happen as a result of a
Checking the
vodka bottle being
technical
thrown at him?
aspects of the live.
Overruled.
I'm sorry.
No.
Happy Monday,
What is the
everybody.
basis for that opinion?
Well, the medical data is inconclusive. It's not consistent with what we see.
Hit the
in
like button on the way
described
in.
injury pattern or in the clinical photographs. And there are several elements. There's
Johnny
the
Depp
description
looking
was of the
dapper
hand being
today.
flat on the bar and the bottle crushing the finger from the top. But looking at the images, there's really no significant injury to the dorsum of the finger, and to create the type of injury with that type of a crush injury, we would anticipate both injury to the fingernail and other parts of the finger.
Can I stop you there and
Sure.
just break down a few things? You said the hand resting flat on the bar. Can you show the jury what direction the hand was resting based on the documents you've reviewed?
I think that the demonstration was with the hand flat, like this, across and maybe even curled over the edge of the bar like this.
Which side was facing upward? Which side of the hand?
The back of the hand, or we call it the dorsal surface of the hand, was up.
Doctor, if you could get closer to the microphone,
Oh,
I'd just appreciate
sorry.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. So you referred to the back of the hand as the dorsal side of the hand, is that right?
That's correct.
Sort of like the dorsal fin on a shark?
Correct.
Fair. And what is the other side of the hand called?
The palmar surface.
Palmar? Okay. So what direction was Mr. Depp's hand resting on the bar?
So the dorsal side was up, which with the descripted mechanism of injury or the injury, the bottle would have struck the top of the finger at the fingernail.
And you also mentioned a term that I'd like you to explain to the jury, crush injury, please.
So with review of the images and the x-rays, I mean, this was a crush injury. That would generate the findings clinically on an x-ray that we saw. The fracture is a we call it comminuted, and the tip of the finger is in multiple splinters, so there are multiple fragments, and typically you see that with a crush type injury.
So a comminuted fracture is one where there's multiple fragments of bone?
That's correct.
And what was the basis, other than what you've read and heard, but from the pictures, what was the basis of your opinion that the hand was resting palmar
Salute
side
everybody.
on
Well,
the bar?
that was the way the injury was described. and demonstrated in the videos.
Seven, the
And so,
gentleman, what's up with it?
in that position where the bottle to strike, the
Am I coming
finger
in
the
clear
way it was
out there?
described, it would have struck on the nail, and the nail was really not injured, and so that's not consistent with that pattern of injury.
Michelle, could I get you to pull up exhibit DX 369, page 26? Your Honor, this is admitted. Ask for permission to publish.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Moore, is this one of the images that you reviewed?
Yes.
Tell us, in relation to your expert opinion on the cause of Mr. Depp's injury, tell us what you see in this picture, please.
So this is it looks like an avulsion type injury where tissue's actually pulled or pinched away. I think what's important in this picture is that the tissue loss is on the palmar aspect from underneath the finger rather than all transversely in the finger, which you would anticipate if the bottle struck the finger. You would expect more of this level of
do one
injury
at a time.
rather than isolated to the palmar aspect.
Do one at a time.
And what do you notice about the condition of the fingernail in this picture?
So from this image, the fingernail appears to be intact. You can't necessarily see the entire nail, but there are other images that have a better profile of that. And the nail's not
Salute.
elevated. There's no subungual hematoma beneath it, or there's no bruise underneath it. Anyone that's ever stuck their finger in a drawer or caught it in a car door or hit it with a hammer knows that almost immediately there's typically bleeding underneath the nail, which creates this hematoma.
So, not being a doctor, I'm going to try to summarize what you just said. Are you saying that in an injury like this, if something had come from the top, that there would be an immediate impact to the fingernail bed?
That's correct.
Michelle, could you please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 144? Your Honor, this has been admitted as well.
All right. Thank you.
Dr. Moore, I believe you mentioned just a few minutes ago that there were other pictures that
Man,
more of the nail.
what?
Is this one of those pictures?
Yes.
And explain to the jury again, and I'm sorry for the graphic nature of this photo, but it's important that the jury understands the basis for your opinion that a bottle couldn't have caused this coming in from above.
Yeah, so it's
What?
again, the mechanism described would have almost certainly led to severe.
Yeah,
nail
man, that looked like a
injury.
piranha.
See no subungual hematoma. Again, it's a palmar tissue loss, and the loss is from distal to proximal, which is from the tip back far below the nail. And so for it to create that tissue loss down there would almost certainly have to be injury dorsally with that described mechanism.
So what you're saying is that
looks
something
bad,
coming
man.
from the top could not have left the nail intact and yet caused injury from the tip of the finger underneath the nail.
Objection leading.
Overruled.
You can answer.
So I believe that with the mechanism described, that if the bottle struck the nail, there would have certainly been an injury to the nail bed, and in order for the soft tissue injury to be created by that mechanism, there would have almost certainly been tissue loss on the top of the finger as well.
Does Mr. Depp's description of what happened line up with the undisputed photographic evidence that you've reviewed?
No.
Now, we mentioned the term crush injury a few minutes ago. I'd like to show you DX 360, please. And, Your Honor, this is, we won't publish this at this time. Is this a document that you reviewed in connection with your expert opinion in this case?
Yes.
And Michelle, if you can please go to pages, I believe they're 5 and 6. Your Honor, I'd ask for permission to publish these as a demonstrative to the jury.
Just page 5 and 6.
Sorry, 09 and 10.
Page
2 pages.
09.
Doctor is this? Who
Could you go to 10 also, so plaintiff can see it? Okay, any objection to
No
09?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, 09, 010 can be published.
Dr. Moore,
Must be John.
what are
This
these
is Amber.
pictures of?
So these are x-rays of the injured digit.
And what do you observe in these x-rays? Explain to the jury what you see.
So these are two views. So one in the plane looking through the finger in this direction, one in the plane looking through the finger sideways. And you can see that the tuft or the tip of the finger, the last bone in the finger called the distal phalanx, is shattered. You can see there's multiple little spicules of bone. And there's also a transverse fracture at that level, which runs through the bone. So this is what we would describe as a comminuted fracture, and it's commonly associated with crush injury.
In your decades of practice, Dr. Moore, have you ever seen a comminuted fracture like this result from an object thrown in the way that Mr. Depp described?
Well, not with the constellation of findings shown on the x-rays. I mean, I think that could create a fracture, but in this setting, it wouldn't create a fracture with without the associated other injuries that we would anticipate.
And in your decades of practice, when you see a comminuted fracture like this,
Born from
what are some
FOG,
things that
what's up with
typically
it?
caused it?
So crush mechanisms could be
We covering the trial,
slammed in a
man,
drawer,
because
caught between two logs and the fireplace.
You know it's sucker shit.
Car door.
and it's intriguing
Sliding
sucker
glass
shit.
door. Those are all.
So we
hanging
review,
mechanisms
we doing live
that squeeze the
trial
finger between
coverage.
two hard opposing surfaces.
Then
Could
we're gonna
create
be
this type
doing
of-
the show today.
In the statements of Mr.
For
Depp that
sure.
you reviewed, how did he describe what
At
happened
least one.
to the alleged
Maybe
bottle
two,
when
I
it
don't
hit the
know.
car?
I believe
We're going hard
he
in
said
the
it
paint,
exploded.
though. I'm
Chat.
telling you that.
If a bottle had exploded,
We doing this
near
and
his
some more
finger,
stuff today. We doing a lot
in
of
the way
streaming
that he
today.
alleges, what would you expect to see in the documents that you have reviewed?
Well, I think that the physicians did a good job of documenting the presentation.
Shout
appearance of
out to the
wound.
chat. Let me
They-
know
they
where
did
you
not
tapping in
document the presence of any
from.
glass shards, and there were no other associated injuries elsewhere on the hand.
And I just want to step back for 1 minute. Michelle, can you pull up the next page of the x-ray here? Thank you. And Dr. Moore, just before we move on from x-rays, can you, I know that this, when it's blown up like this, it's a little bit blurry, but can you point out or describe to the jury where the multiple bone fragments are in the finger?
So they're in the very tip. If you see the joint, and then there's what we call the transverse fracture, which is across the middle of the bone in the same plane as the joint, and then the multiple fragments are in the tuft. With a Xerox copy, the quality is not as detailed as a true X-ray.
You can take that down, please, Michelle. Thank you. So back to the glass. In the records that you reviewed, Dr. Moore, did you see any adjacent injuries? In other words, injuries to any other part of Mr. Depp's hand other than the tip of his middle finger?
No.
And is that observation consistent with the explosion of glass type phenomenon that Mr. Depp alleges?
Well, I think in the setting of a glass explosion like that, where there's multiple fragments and the tip of the finger's cut off, you would anticipate that there would be other lacerations.
Did you review the documentation in the medical records from the hospital in Australia?
Yes.
Did any of those providers report retrieving glass from the wound?
No.
What about any glass near the site of the injury?
No.
What about any glass in other parts of the hand?
No.
What about any glass in any of the other fingers?
No.
Is there any reference at all, Dr. Moore, that you've seen to any glass in the records that you've reviewed?
No.
And Dr. Moore, in your decades of practice, have you ever seen an injury associated with a glass explosion that was focused on the end of a single finger in the way Mr. Depp describes?
Well, not consistent with the clinical images and the findings in this case, no.
Have you ever seen an injury associated with an alleged glass explosion where no other glass was found on any part of the patient's body or clothing or anything?
No.
And because there's been talk of a glass explosion, Dr. Moore, there's seems to have been a suggestion that somehow glass may have sliced off the end of Mr. Depp's finger. Is that what's going on here?
This wound.
How much it
doesn't
costs for him to
really appear be
testify?
A sharp glass laceration.
You referred earlier
Evaluating
to
an event that happened in another
term I had
country.
never heard bore your opinion in this case.
Evaluating an
Explain to
event
the
that
jury
happened
what
in
that
another
is.
country.
So often with crush injuries and we'll see tissue loss that we call an avulsion, or where the tissue's actually pinched or pulled away rather than sliced or cut. And it's not uncommon with crush injuries to see that.
In your decades of practice, Dr. Moore, have you ever seen an avulsion injury with a partial amputation that results from an object thrown from the top
Got
of
him
the
getting
finger?
them terms out there. An
In the way
avulsion
that Mr. Depp
injury.
describes.
An avulsion
No,
injury.
again, I think that the description differs from the clinical.
An avulsion in
images.
injury.
Michelle, can you please pull up Exhibit 369 at page 12? This has been admitted, Your Honor.
All right, we publish to the jury.
Dr. Moore, you said you've treated thousands of hand injuries over the course of your career, correct?
Correct.
What is that on Mr. Depp's hand?
So we describe that as a.
Objection,
as-
calls for speculation.
The picture just changed.
Sorry, page 12, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What is that on Mr. Depp's hand?
So that's a plaster
I'm sorry.
splint.
Overruled the objection.
Okay, sorry, thank you. I'm sorry, please tell the jury what that is on Mr. Depp's hand.
So that's a plaster splint. A half a cast is how I sometimes describe it to patients, and it provides stability for comfort and to protect fractures in the course of treatment.
Is that plaster splint hard or soft?
What's plaster Paris? It hardens like a cast does.
Dr. Moore, does Mr. Depp's description of how his finger became injured line up with the facts that you've seen?
No.
I have no further questions. Thank you. Dr. Moore.
Come on, cross-examination. Who bought your suit for you? What kind of suit is that you got on there? Is that Armani? How much you get paid to do
morning,
this
Dr.
testimony?
Morning.
Is that
You
Camille?
said you reviewed Mr. Depp's video deposition. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Camille.
And you said you reviewed Mr. Depp's
That's my
testimony at this
favorite
trial.
bitch right there.
That's correct.
Dropping
And
that
was that
Camille
also
shirt.
video of his
I fuck
testimony?
with Camille.
And you testified that Mr. Depp demonstrated that his hand was flat on a surface. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's not entirely accurate, is it, though?
No, his description was relatively consistent in both, including turning and resting the hand on the edge.
Isn't it true, Dr. Moore, that when Mr. Depp did the demonstration in his deposition, he showed that his fingers were hanging over the bar?
Well, even hanging over the bar, it still leaves the dorsum of the hand or the nail vulnerable.
That's
to
not
the,
my question, Dr. Moore. My
Come on,
question is,
Camille.
is it true
Camille.
that Mr. Depp said his fingers were not laying flat on a table, they were hanging over the bar?
Camille.
Yes.
Oh,
In fact,
look
you
at
don't.
it.
You didn't know that opinion.
He don't like her.
Well, I believe
don't
that
like Camille.
as I demonstrated sitting here, that I said that he had said they were slightly curled over, I think was the description that I gave.
Your description in this courtroom was that it was laying flat, and I think you've done that now twice. But in your deposition,
Camille.
you testified that his fingers were actually hanging over the bar. Isn't that correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Misstates the witness's testimony. He clearly indicated they were curled. Or could have been curled.
Overruled.
So that's a distinction that perhaps I misstated in
Five
one of the
snug
two
ways.
descriptions.
Yeah, I
However,
peeped that.
That does not substantially change my opinion of the impact it would have on the mechanism.
$600 an hour is kind of low, though.
True that
Like,
Mr. Depp also testified that
I
the
mean, it
bottle
depends on
came
how
from
many
the
hours he
same-
worked.
Yes.
Okay. And you consider that in rendering your opinions today,
I guess,
correct?
yeah, for the trial.
Yes, I believe he
guess
stated
that's
that it came from between 6 and 10
600
feet.
an hour.
I think it was I think he demonstrated it was off to his right. I can't recall specifically, but it was off angle, yes.
Okay. So it didn't come from the top, as you previously testified just a few minutes ago, correct?
Well, no, it would have struck the top of the finger, but it may have been slightly off angle in its approach based on the description.
Mr. Depp described it as off angle, correct?
Correct.
Dr. Moore, just at the outset, your billing rate for providing
Here
deposition
we-
testimony is $1,000 per hour?
That's correct.
$1,000
And you were
an
deposed
hour.
in this action for several hours on March 22nd,
$1,000 an
2022.
hour. There we
That's
go. 7
And your billing
channel.
rate for providing trial testimony is $5,000 per day.
That's correct.
5 racks a
You were retained in
day.
this case by Ms. Heard's legal team, correct?
Correct.
And over the last few years, you've provided expert services for one of Ms. Heard's law firms on at least 2 other cases, right?
That's correct, yes.
Dr. Moore, is it fair to say that you have no personal knowledge as to how Mr. Depp injured his finger in Australia, correct?
No, I have no personal knowledge. My impression is
Fluffing
based
the
on
invoice,
his,
right,
his description
yeah.
of the injury and the available medical records for review.
But you weren't in Australia with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard,
I
correct?
was not in
He
Australia.
was not in
Therefore, you
Australia,
have no
another
personal knowledge as to
continent.
how that injury was sustained.
Correct.
You also never personally examined Mr. Depp's finger, did you?
Correct.
Amber wasted
You didn't
money on
examine
this
Mr. Depp's
motherfucker.
finger at the time it was injured.
Shit.
I did not.
And you never provided any medical treatment to Mr. Depp in connection with his finger injury, did you?
I did not.
Now, you've testified that you identified Mr. Depp's finger injury as a crush injury.
Camille
Correct.
is a star.
And a crush injury is when a body part is crushed or trapped between 2 opposing firm surfaces. Yes?
Yes.
And a crush injury to a finger can occur when a foreign object hits the finger, right?
Yes.
And based on the pictures that you reviewed of Mr. Depp's finger injury, you cannot determine what particular object caused the injury to his finger. Yes?
Well, I can't determine exactly what object did it. I think that I
can't determine what
say
object did
with
it.
confidence that the described mechanism of the bottle hitting and shattering the finger was not
Hit the
consistent
likes
with
on the
the
way in, tap
My
in.
question is just very specific. You can't determine the object that caused the injury to Mr. Depp's
Come on,
finger.
Camille. I love you so much. Camille is real bitch.
Non-specific.
Camille up for real bitch of the year.
Again,
Camille is
I
up
can't
for real
determine the
bitch.
exact object, but I can determine that it's unlikely that it was sustained in the manner
Camille is
described.
up for real bitch of the
bottle is a
year.
foreign object,
Over
isn't it?
here.
Yes.
Okay. So you can't rule out that the injury to Mr. Depp's finger was caused by a vodka bottle, correct?
Well, based on the injury pattern,
Camille.
I can say that the described mechanism of injury is inconsistent with medical findings.
Right. But because a vodka bottle is a foreign object, you can't rule out that a vodka bottle is what caused Mr. Depp's injury.
Well, I can't rule out that a vodka bottle caused the injury, but I can rule out that it was caused in the manner described in his testimony.
You can't rule out that the injury was caused by a knife, right?
I think it's unlikely that the injury was caused by a knife.
But you can't rule it out.
Bossmack
Well,
top
a
soil.
simple knife laceration.
Live
wouldn't
trial
impart the
coverage.
injury to the distal phalanx to result in the comedy fracture.
Tap in. Tell a friend. Let
Now,
people
a
know.
chopping type thing,
Real
again, that
nigga
would likely
analysis.
come from a direction that would create a
Fat
dorsal
boy getting handled by
injury to
Camille
create a
right
fracture
now.
that
If
was
you don't know, Camille
Remember
is
the
on his head.
Dr. Moore?
Deposition?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. And you were under oath, correct?
correct.
All right. And that was on March 22nd, 2022. Yes?
Correct.
Oath.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am.
Go. Camille is on his head.
Dr. Moore, may I please have you go to page 163 of your deposition, specifically line 17.
Salute to the chat.
163. Actually, apologies, 164.
Top of the morning. Happy Monday morning. You are live
4.
with the Johnny Depp
Question,
versus
but you can't
Amber
rule it out
Rose. I mean,
completely, right?
Amber
Answer.
Heard
I can't
trial.
rule anything out completely. I can't rule out that he caught it in the door, cut it with a knife, or slammed it in the car door. Or, again, as Dr. Gilmer said, we can't definitively say what caused this injury. Did I read that correctly?
Man,
You did.
Your Honor, I
I-
would object as to the incomplete impeachment. I think if she's going to read his answer, she also needs to read or give Dr. Moore the chance to read the paragraph below. She just picked out half of his answer.
You can redirect.
Yeah,
I'll
as
overrule the
well as the
objection.
paragraph above.
Dr. Moore, there's no question pending. Thank you, though.
Camille is the deal.
So you can't rule out the injury was caused by a car door either. Is that right?
Correct.
What are you paid
But
for?
it's your testimony sitting
What are
here
you
today
paid
that you can rule out that the
$1,000 an
injury was
hour
caused by
for?
a vodka bottle. Is that your testimony?
My testimony is that I can rule out the injury as caused by the mechanism described by.
Is
Mr.
that a
Depp
yellow
in his
shirt he
deposition.
have on? Is that shirt yellow?
But you can't definitively say what caused the injury to Mr. Depp's finger.
Well,
Turning
the
red.
definitive
He
is
don't
a
like
crush
her.
injury,
He don't like. He don't like
but
Camille. He not used
again,
to
I-
getting pressed
I
by a
can't
bitch
say.
like
I mean, I
that.
think it's.
He not used to. He not used
Quite
to
likely that the
getting
initial
pressed by a bitch like that.
mechanism described at the time of presentation of the accordion doors would classically create this injury pattern. You know, the hand up in front. If you picture accordion doors as the edge is closed, if the hand's up, the palm is exposed. If the door's pushed, and the
Dr.
hinge
Moore,
closes about the fingers.
I understand that. But
But
my
I-
question is,
I think it's important that they understand that.
Get
this
it,
is the
Camille.
time for me
Look
to
at
ask you
it.
questions. Your counsel will have the ability to rehabilitate
Look
you.
at
Right now, let's try this question. You can't definitively say what caused the injury to Mr. Depp's fingers. Yes or no?
No.
Okay. In conducting your analysis of Mr. Depp's finger
Camille
injury,
on his
you did not
head.
attempt to reconstruct the incident. Is that right?
Well, I think the incident was reconstructed. You mean did I throw a vodka bottle at something?
No, no, Dr. Moore. I mean, you didn't do any type of accident reconstruction, either computerized or any. You didn't
getting
conduct
handled.
any type of accident reconstruction.
Look at
of
it.
the-
Red.
That's correct. My opinion is based on the medical records and the clinical images and Mr. Depp's description.
And
Out
your
of
analysis
shape,
is based
supposed
on
to be a
an
doctor.
understanding of how
What
Mr.
kind of
Depp
doctor?
described the exact
Out of
position
shape,
his finger at
fat,
the time of the injury.
turning
Yes?
red, $1,000 an
And your
hour,
analysis is also based on the
overeating.
assumption that Mr. Depp's hand remained completely still in the instance that a vodka bottle was hurled at him. Yes?
No, my assessment is on his description of the vodka bottle striking.
$1,000 an hour for what though?
But
Need
his
to
hand
be
stayed-
slapped.
According to your analysis. Yes?
I guess it was still long enough for the bottle to hit it, but natural reaction would be to try to pull away.
When you perform traumatic finger surgeries, you inquire about the cause of the injuries, correct?
Correct.
And your best information on that is typically just the self-report of the patient, yes?
Correct.
And your assumption is that the patient is trying to get care. Because the patient is trying to get care, that person, that patient, is generally telling the truth, right?
You would hope so.
Yeah. You reviewed Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony informing your opinion about Mr. Depp's finger injury, correct?
Correct.
In forming your opinion, did you consider Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony that while Dr. Kipper was providing emergency treatment
Objection,
for
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Depp,
May we approach?
Okay.
Camille is handling the other attorney, and it's a dude. It's not even the old bitch now. She's handling the dude. The dude is getting disheveled. The dude is getting disheveled. Hey, man, right now, I just want to say shout out to Camille, because Camille is the deal. You understand me? We gonna give Camille Real Bitch of the Year nomination official. We respect what she has done here.
Let's start over.
Let's get
It's
up.
important the jury hears this.
Oh.
So in forming your opinion, did you consider Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony that while Dr. Kipper was providing emergency treatment for Mr. Depp's finger injury in Australia in the driveway of the house, Mr. Depp told him that his finger was injured when Miss Heard threw a vodka bottle at him?
I don't recall that from the deposition. I'd be happy to review it if you have the deposition
What?
available.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Did you
didn't.
consider Dr. Kipper's testimony that he recalled that Mr. Depp's finger was found in the kitchen?
I
You
do
didn't
recall that.
consider.
So you must have also seen Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony that he wasn't the one who actually found the finger, correct?
That's correct.
Dr. Kipper
Wait a
testified that
minute.
someone he thought was the chef told him he found the finger in the kitchen area, correct?
I'm going to assume so without reading the deposition now.
You any testimony from Ben King in rendering your opinions today?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did you see any of Mr. King's testimony at this trial?
around.
So you're not aware that Mr. King
$1,000
testified that he's the
hour
one who found
witness.
Mr. Depp's finger, are you?
Stumbling and fumbling
And you're not aware
around.
that Mr. King testified that he found Mr. Depp's finger in the bar area, right?
Correct.
Oh boy, nervous.
And you're not aware that Mr.
Turning
King testified
red.
he found
Is
Mr. Depp's
sweating.
finger in a piece of tissue in the bar area, either.
No.
Getting ate up
And
by
you're not aware that Mr. King
Camille.
testified that multiple broken liquor bottles were also found in the
Ate
bar
up
area,
by Camille.
right?
Correct.
If we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1817, which is already in evidence.
He's getting ate up by Camille.
And it may be published, please.
I just don't have it yet.
He's getting ate up by Camille.
Yes. I just have a blank screen at the moment. There we go. Oh, sorry, something.
Thank
There we go.
you.
Okay.
Have you ever seen this picture before, Dr. Moore?
No.
So you're not aware that this is the bar area where Mr. King testified he found Mr. Depp's finger?
No.
Do you see that broken vodka bottle in the back corner near the bottom of the bar?
Yes.
Okay. Do you see the blood drops on the floor?
Yes.
Can we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1820, which is already in evidence?
He's getting ate up by Camille.
Have you seen this picture before, Dr. Moore?
I have not.
So you're not aware that this is also a picture from the bar area where Mr. King testified he found Mr. Depp's finger?
Correct.
Do you see the bloody tissue on the ground at the bottom of the bar?
Yes.
Amber
blood
threw
drops
a
around that
vodka
tissue?
bottle at him and cut off his
So you didn't
finger.
consider any of this evidence in rendering your opinion about how Mr. Depp injured his finger in Australia, did you?
I did not.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Redirect. Yes, sir.
Can you pull up Exhibit 1817? That
Handled
was just
you.
shown to the witness, please.
You got handled, bruh.
And can you
She
blow
handled
up that,
you.
what Ms. Vasquez
Camille
referred to as a
handled
broken
you, man.
vodka bottle on the
Damn.
shelf, please. Dr. Moore, what based on
Camille.
your review of the documents in this case, what did you understand to be the size of the bottle of vodka that Mr. Depp alleged cut off his finger?
The description was that it was a handle, a half-gallon bottle.
And that's bigger than a 750 mil or fifth of liquor, correct?
Yes.
And what size bottle, if to the extent that's even a bottle, what size does that appear to be to you?
Calls for speculation, Your Honor.
Camille.
Does that appear to be a handle?
It is.
Objection calls for speculation.
I'll sustain the objection.
Camille.
You can take that down.
Camille.
Dr. Moore, Ms. Vasquez just asked you about Dr. Kipper's deposition testimony, and she said, is that where she claims that Mr. Depp allegedly told him that the finger was severed from a vodka bottle? Do you remember that question a few minutes ago?
Objection leading.
Camille.
I did answer that question.
Yes, thank you. Is that consistent, that alleged account, is that consistent with the texts you reviewed between Mr. Depp and Dr. Kipper?
No.
And what did those texts say?
As I recall, Mr. Depp indicated that he had cut his finger off.
Now, Ms. Vasquez wouldn't let you finish when you were trying to explain to the jury how Mr. Depp's account of injuring his finger in an accordion door would be perfectly consistent with the photographs you saw. Could you please explain that to the jury?
Well, so again, we tend to try to believe patients. We hope that they come in with an honest history initially, and that's a reasonable mechanism for this to have occurred. And again, if you picture your hand up with either a closure of a hinge or a closure of a door, the palmar surface is exposed. If it's caught in that hinge as it closes, it could be slightly off center. It would pinch that tissue away in a similar fashion, but because it's below the level of the nail bed, it could create this injury with the fracture, the tissue loss, and preserve the nail bed.
Can you look
Getting
at
handled.
164 of your deposition, the one that Ms. Vasquez just showed you?
Yes.
Hit the
Objection,
like
Your
on
Honor,
the
I'm gonna
way
object on
in.
hearsay grounds.
Your Honor, she only...
Oh, overruled.
Thank you. Ms. Vasquez asked you a question, and then she read your answer, trying to impeach you, but she only read half of the answer. So I'm going to read the whole answer to the jury, and I'm going to ask you to tell me if I'm reading your answer right, okay? The question is on page 164, line 4, but you can't rule it out completely, right? And you answered, I can't rule anything out completely. I can't rule out that he caught it in the door, cut it with a knife, or slammed it in the car door, or again, as Dr. Gilmore said, we can't definitively say what caused this injury. And then you go on to say, this is where Ms. Vasquez cut you off and didn't let you finish.
I don't think that's in the transcript. Objection.
I'll sustain that.
The rest of your answer that she didn't read to you, Dr. Moore, is the question I can answer is that the mechanism that was described by Mr. Depp and demonstrated by Mr. Depp is inconsistent with the injury pattern that's found on the images and the description. Did I read that right?
Yes.
And does that remain your opinion today?
Yes.
Has anything that's been presented to you on cross-examination changed any of the opinions that you hold in this case?
No.
I have nothing further. Thank you, Dr. Moore.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Moore, you're free to go.
Camille body slams the dude.
Next witness.
Camille is taken down.
Call Dr. David Spiegel.
Dr. Spiegel.
Camille, man, handling. Camille handling.
All right, that's fine. Yes, sir.
Camille handling motherfuckers up here, bro. She up for real bitch of the year. Camille handling nigga. Okay, we got a little break right now. We got a little break in the action between witnesses and shit. You feel me? Bossmack is live Monday morning. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial coverage. RNS perspective, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? RNS perspective. Nobody else is doing RNS perspective on this right now. Tap in early in the morning, see justice working. We are watching Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. The Bossmack Topsoil is covering the trial live because it's related to the game and sucker shit. And we up in the morning watching law, the process of law. Camille, the deal, is in the trenches for Johnny Depp, taking down lawyer after lawyer. We seen her handle the old bitch, and we was wondering if she had skills all the way across the board for everybody, and she has shown us that she could go head up with grown men lawyers, other white men stepping up to the table battling. She is in there firing off guns for Johnny Depp. Boy, I know Johnny Depp is talking like, I love that bitch. I love that bitch. She coming through for me. She is coming through for me. Camille the deal is all the way real. Bossmack gonna have to drop some shirts. You understand me? Camille is the deal. Shirts. If you want good legal representation, you might want to holler at Camille the deal. But anyway, man, it's a beautiful thing. The trial has gripped the world. Everybody's paying attention. Oh my goodness. You never seen it before. Unbelievable. You never seen it before, man. Bossmack live, man, in the morning. We also got we're gonna have a full podcast show coming today, maybe two, I don't know. But man, we got one for show, man. Whole lot of game on the table, man. Bless everybody. Look, you wanna be tapped into the Bossmack topsoil today. Fuck with me, don't fuck with them. You know what I'm talking about? And you know, you see that the Bossmack topsoil got on a really nice. This is a new shirt that I got on right here, man. This is a auger. You know what I'm talking about? This is one of the rare ones, man. You know what I mean? This is one of them rare ones, man, right here, man. I just unleashed this one yesterday. You know what I'm saying? We did a little pop-up shop out at we did a little pop-up shop. And we debuted this. And people was feeling it, man. You know what I'm saying? Little Tiffany blue with the Tiffany blue with the green, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know, it's a little comfortable joint, you know what I'm saying? A little different from what we usually be having. But we be having vast selections, you know what I'm saying? Doing the best we can out here. Right now, we
Thank you.
All right.
yeah, let's get it back. Let's get it back. All right. We got new witness hitting the stand. Let's see what's good.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will you please tell the jury your full name and business address?
David R. Spiegel. I'm a physician. I work at 825 Fairfax Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia, as part of the Eastern Virginia Medical School.
And what is your occupation?
I'm a physician psychiatrist.
And where do you work? Do you work at?
I work at Eastern Virginia. I'm employed by Eastern Virginia Medical School, but I also work at Norfolk General Hospital, which is the teaching hospital in Norfolk.
How many years have you been practicing as a psychiatrist?
I entered residency in
Psychiatrist.
1989. I graduated residency in 1993. So from 1993 to today, I've been in physician practicing.
So that's almost 30
That's 30 years, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
He looked
Please
brazy.
describe for the jury the nature of your clinical
I hate
practice.
to be like that. You
So
look
my
brazy.
clinical practice is comprised of both inpatient care at Norfolk General Hospital, as well as my outpatient practice at Eastern Virginia Medical School.
Look brazy.
About 85 to 90% of my day is clinical between the two components.
And what is involved in a comprehensive evaluation?
So in a comprehensive evaluation, in addition to reviewing the historical information that you receive from collateral other sources, you undertake a history from the patient. You get, whether it's the history of current illness, the past psychiatric history, family history, social history, legal, substance history. Then you do what's called a mental status exam, which is the psychiatric version of the physical exam, where you're actually giving a description of what you see in front of you. Then you can do cognitive testing, which tests the patient memory,
Hit the
attention,
like button on the way in, tap in.
etc. Then you come up with a working and a differential diagnosis, describe any other additional testing you may need or not need, and then you come up with a treatment plan.
Monday morning.
Patients have you
Johnny
treated
Depp
over
trial
the
going
30
up.
years?
Camille already
Quite a
been
lot,
active.
probably in the tens of thousands.
And how many patients do you regularly see?
So inpatient is generally about 5 to 8, sometimes more. Outpatients probably 5 to 6, sometimes more. I should point out that my inpatient work is divided between consultation, psychiatry, and I believe we're going to talk about that, as well as working on the inpatient service. So I believe we'll talk about that.
What, if any, differences are there on how many patients you see on weekends as opposed to weekdays?
So when I'm on call, which is on either a Saturday or a Sunday, meaning I have to be in the hospital and around, that's probably an additional 35 plus patients.
How frequently do you treat patients who abuse drugs and alcohol?
Every day.
Unfortunately, drugs and alcohol are part of psychiatric practice. And so probably 3/4 of my patients have substance abuse problems.
Does this include both legal and illegal drugs?
Yes, put them both together, probably 75%.
And how frequently do you treat patients who have suffered from someone in their lives who abuses alcohol and drugs?
On a regular basis, like I said, on a daily basis. This is part of what psychiatry is.
And as part of that treatment of patients who abuse drugs and alcohol, do you evaluate the impact of the abuse on their brains and personal interactions with others?
Yes, substance of abuse, both in the short term and the long term, can affect the brain in terms of mood, behavior, cognition, meaning attention, concentration, memory, ability to control your behavior, as well as your overall level of functioning. It can affect it in the short term, such as alcoholic blackouts. It can affect it by causing stroke, such as stimulants can. And so at the end of the day, it's a rather lengthy list of what substance abuse can do to the human brain.
Dr. Spiegel, how frequently have you treated patients who have suffered intimate partner violence?
Again, it's very unfortunate that probably 50% of my patients suffer from trauma. If I had to guess of those 50%, probably 25% of my practice is people who have suffered intimate partner violence.
And how consistent is that with the national average?
In America, unfortunately,
Hit the like button on the way in, tap in.
study of women have complained, have reported intimate partner violence.
And how frequently have you treated patients who have perpetrated the intimate partner violence?
So again, in the outpatient setting, I don't see it quite as much, but in the inpatient setting, again, it's a really relative common phenomenon that we'll see perpetrators of partner violence, and they're patients who need treatment too.
And overall, how many patients have you treated who have been perpetrators of intimate partner violence?
Perpetrators?
Yes.
Probably 5 to 10% of the patients I do is perpetrators.
And would you say tens of thousands over the 30 years?
Yes.
Leading.
Overruled.
Thank you. As part of treating patients relating to intimate partner violence, do you regularly evaluate these patients?
Do I regularly evaluate the patient?
Evaluate the patient, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes, regularly. I mean, they get the same comprehensive evaluation that I described before.
Are you licensed in Virginia?
Yes, I am.
And when did you first become licensed in Virginia?
1993.
Have you been qualified by courts as an expert witness?
Yes, I have.
In how many states have you been qualified as an expert?
3, which would be Virginia, Maryland, and South Carolina.
Dr. Spiegel, can you please review for the jury your educational background, beginning with your undergraduate studies?
So I went to Duke University undergrad. I went to medical school at the State University of New York Health Science Center in Brooklyn, formerly known as Downstate Medical Center. I did my internship and residency between Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center and Penn State Hershey Medical Center.
And
I'm also fellowship board certified in consultation liaison psychiatry.
okay. And where did you do your residency and your internships?
So I did my residency for Penn State and internship at Dartmouth.
Okay. And what is your current title and position?
So I am in the acting chair, endowed chair, and professor in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences at Eastern Virginia Medical School.
Are you board certified?
Yes, I am.
And what are you board certified in?
General adult psychiatry and consultation liaison psychiatry is a subspecialty.
Okay. So you have 2 board certifications.
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain to the jury what's involved in board certifications in those 2 fields?
So board certification is the standard we strive to in being a physician or any other mental health practitioner. It involves taking a very comprehensive test at the beginning of your career to initiate board certification. Then you get tested again every 10 years. Then you have to go through continual medical education throughout the entire period. You have to do what's called performance in practice, which is basically ways to improve things in your practice. And again, this occurs always throughout the years.
Okay. Now, are you a member of any professional organizations?
Yes, I am.
Could you
I'm
please
a
tell the
member
jury?
of the American Psychiatric Association, as well as the fellow of the American Psychiatric Association. I'm a member of the Medical Society of Virginia. I'm a member of the Psychiatric Society of Virginia. I'm a member of the Tidewater Academy of Psychiatry, and I'm a member of the Academy of Consultation Liaison Psychiatry.
He
Do
do
you
his
have any
job.
teaching responsibilities?
Teaching, oh yeah.
Teaching, yes.
So yes, so teaching is a daily occurrence as part of my job when I do my inpatient rounds. Residents, medical students, physician assistant students are assigned. So we round together, and there's teaching with every single encounter. In addition to that, I teach lectures to the residents, to the third, second, and first year medical students, as well as a fourth year medical student lecture as well.
Hit the like button on the
I'm
way in.
constantly teaching.
Have you engaged in any hands-on training of psychiatrists practicing in Virginia?
Hands-on training with the residents?
With psychiatrists?
Oh, yeah. So, again, I'm teaching at bedside. I mean, we don't speak in front of the patient, obviously, but I'm teaching at bedside, meaning after we see a patient, we discuss the important points to learn. And again, that includes residents at every level. That includes medical students, third, second, and first year physician assistant students. So every day is a teaching explanation session to the students and residents.
What is your role at Eastern Virginia Medical School as the acting chair? Please tell the jury what that means.
So as the acting chair, you are not only accountable for your own practice, but you are accountable for your faculty members' practices. So I have to make sure that everyone is treating, seeing, evaluating a certain number of patients. I have responsible for their academic requirements, so in terms of publishing, et cetera. I'm responsible for their teaching assignments to other residents, to other students. I'm responsible for fiscally that they are accountable to their fiscal productivity. So, and a heck of a lot of other administrative meetings that I go to.
Hit the like button on the way in.
To the tune of about 80 manuscripts, and I have my own book on catatonia, consultation liaison setting. I have a book chapter.
Catatonia.
The current and current and contemporary approaches temporomandibular disease, at least the psychiatric portion. I'm also in a dissociative identity disorders chapter on a wiki book.
And have you peer-reviewed literature?
Yes, so I'm a reviewer on, I've served as a reviewer on Lancet. I've served as a reviewer as Innovations in Clinical Neuroscience. I've served on reviewer for Clinical Neuropharmacology, and I'm actually editor-in-chief of, at this point, of Clinical Neuropharmacology.
Have you lectured on the effects of drugs and alcohol on the human brain?
Yes, I teach to the residents. I teach lecture to the second-year medical students, third-year medical students. So I am fully aware of not only what I teach, but what I see in the emergency room and the consultation and inpatient settings.
Have you published and lectured on the causes and effects of intimate partner abuse?
Yes, I punctured, I believe, 2 articles on the effects of trauma, and in that trauma was intimate partner violence.
Are you familiar with the hallmarks of intimate partner violence?
Yes.
Are you familiar with what causes intimate partner violence?
One more, excuse me?
What causes intimate partner violence?
Yes, there's a multiple explanation that cause intimate partner violence. And if I can I just mention at this point too, that when we are discussing intimate partner violence, I think it's imperative for the jury to know we are talking about repetitive behavior over periods of time. And the type of abuse can be any physical, psychological, sexual, but just as important is for somebody, one of the partners, to maintain some uneven element of control or to maintain power, control, or authority. So there are a lot of facets to intimate partner violence. I know people tend to think of it as just the actual abuse act, but there's more to it than just the actual abuse act. Abuse act's important, but it's not the sole thing.
Your Honor, I'd move to qualify Dr. Spiegel as an expert in the field of psychiatry and behavioral sciences with specific emphasis on drug and alcohol abuse, intimate partner violence, and the effect of these as they pertain to the issues in this case.
All right, any objection?
Your Honor,
You wish to void dear?
I do.
Okay. To his qualifications.
His qualification.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, you talked about 2 board certifications, general adult psychiatry
Yes.
and liaison consultation psychiatry.
Other way around, but consultation liaison.
psychiatry.
Subtle point.
Right. Now, that is not intimate partner violence. That deals with a issue of comorbidity between people who have medical problems and health problems.
So you're saying it's subspecialty?
Yes.
So consultation liaison psychiatry does have that, but you're also treating patients who have medical illness, who have comorbid psychiatric illness, or people who have psychiatric illness that have comorbid medical illness. And many of the patients that I see on the trauma service have tried to take their own life. And unfortunately, as part of that, intimate partner violence and trauma in general is part and parcel of that. So it's very, very narrow to say it's just the medical psychiatric interface. It's much more of psychiatric patients who need medical help, medical patients who develop psychiatric problems, but also that interface.
So as a subset of your trauma patients, which you say are about 50% of your practice, as a subset of that practice, some people have been involved with intimate partner violence.
So as a subset of my overall practice, 50% have suffered from trauma, about half of that number have suffered from, I'm sorry, about 20, so it's about 20% that suffer from IP, intimate partner violence.
All right. You've never conducted any empirical research on individuals who experienced intimate partner violence, have you, sir?
If your definition is trials, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Like pharmaceutical trials, or what are you saying? Is that what you're saying? Because I've done review articles on patients who suffered from trauma. So the answer is, oh, I haven't done any studies like where you give them medication.
Bro look
for
crazy though.
trauma
Like
versus
all
others.
his
I've
all
reviewed
his
the body
accolades, he
literature
look brazy.
on
He look brazy.
violence to get 2 review articles.
He look
yes.
brazy.
So So you've read about it, is what you just testified to.
I would have to disagree with you on that, sir. Reading about it and writing a review article are completely two different things, sir.
All right. You haven't authored any articles specifically on IPV, have you, sir?
As a subset of trauma, the answer is yes. In terms of in the name of the title of the article, the answer is no.
You've never written any books specifically on IPV?
I've never written any books on IPV, although temporomandibular disease, okay, in terms of psychiatric issues, does have a higher frequency in those patients who have suffered from trauma, including intimate partner violence.
Intimate
And
partner
I'm part of that.
violence. IPV,
Temporal
intimate partner
mandibular
violence.
disease deals with
Intimate partner
problems with the
violence.
jaw.
We learned a new acronym.
Is that a question, sir?
What is temporomandibular?
The temporomandibular disease problem with oral issues, yeah, but there are many patients who complain of oral issues where the oral surgeon cannot find a reason for it, and the reason why they can't is because people who have suffered from trauma and intimate partner violence are prone to increased sensitivity of somatic sensations, which can manifest in temporomandibular disease. Thank you, I appreciate that. Nice plug for my book, too, thank you.
Look at him
Hear it?
promoting his book up there. Salute us. I feel you promote your
You
book,
haven't written
bro.
any chapters of any
Look
books
at it.
specifically about IPV.
Again, I think I've gone over that. I've written 2 articles on that.
Okay, his
I've written
personality is
chapters on
coming out
dissociative
now.
identity disorder. I
His
should have, right,
personality
right,
coming
chapter on
out.
is completely based on trauma and intimate partner violence.
Right.
Promote
I'm
your
not asking
book,
about
bro.
trauma because you want to talk about trauma.
It's
I'm asking
live
about
right
IPV
now.
Specifically.
I will reiterate again, you cannot separate intimate partner violence and say that is a separate rubric aside from trauma. Trauma is overall, intimate partner violence is part of trauma, and the answer to the question is any individual who suffers from a dissociative disorder, which I am the author of a chapter of, suffers from trauma, whether it be at the hands in childhood or it be at the hands of an intimate partner.
Right, but you've already testified that half your practice is trauma and a subset of that practice is IPV, correct?
Which is actually I treat the national average of patients. About 20% of patients suffer from it, and that's about my practice number.
Except you're discounting the fact that half your practice is not trauma at all. So 10% of your practice is IPV.
I don't know if the numbers add up exactly like that.
I'm just using
but
yours.
I don't know if I'm doing. I don't know if those numbers add up like that because I'm not sure if that's the case. If you say 25%, then maybe 12.5% of my practice. That's being rather specific. So again, a significant number of my patients have suffered from intimate partner violence. I see it on a daily basis, and I'm not sure exactly why I'm getting asked the same question again.
Get on
You
it.
listed 60 references. I guess you said 80 now, and publications. And
I said around 80. I said around 80.
60, 80, whatever it is, right?
No, 60 and 80 is not. If you go to the PubMed, actually, why don't you go to PubMed right now and put PubMed Spiegel DR, and you'll find that number is 72 with 2 waiting to be impressed. 1 submitted, so that'd be 75. So it's around 80. So again, what's on my CV is not necessarily the most updated version because I still publish since the CV's been given to you, sir.
Right. And not one of the 72, 80 articles has IPV in the title, right?
Correct. Not one of them has IPV. It does have trauma, but not IPV.
Right. And you've never presented on the topic of IPV specifically.
Miles in the
As a
game
function
could
of
never be
trauma,
lame. What's
function of
up with
somatic
it?
Illness. Again, I would say to you that it's part and parcel of these illnesses. So the answer is yes, I have.
Y'all
My
niggas was
answer is
up
yes,
this
I have.
weekend. I seen
And
y'all
IPV
niggas
doesn't
out there
appear
in
in your CV
Miami.
at all.
I seen y'all niggas. I'm gonna say something on the
If you
podcast
say
today,
it's not
though.
in my CV, I will believe you. There's a lot of things that are not in my CV that I do. So.
And you're not associated with any professional literature on IPV.
I'm sorry, repeat the question, sir?
Is there any professional literature that you've contributed to relative to IPV specifically as opposed to trauma generally?
Duke.
The answer to the question again, sir, is that you cannot separate.
Dude is
this
confident up
you're
there.
Trying to do between trauma and intimate partner violence. It is part and parcel of trauma. We don't thread it like that.
Your Honor.
Dude, chin is up.
Witnesses
He's
and experts
confident.
on general psychiatry, and with respect to the drug usage issues that Ms. Bredehoff referenced, but not with respect to IPV.
All right, over objection, he's entered as an expert as stated on the record. All right, you may continue. Thank you.
Very much, Your Honor. Dr. Spiegel, at our request, what have you reviewed in this case? And just go ahead and give me more.
So
it's
a lengthy review, but court filings, psychological testing that was done on Ms. Heard by both Dr.
Dude look like Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future. He look like from Back to the Future.
Counselors and therapists that both parties and psychiatrists that they went to, text messages, depositions, snippets of the UK trial, and I'm sure pictures of.
That's right. Get the likes up, y'all. Get the likes up. Look out for a nigga out
What,
here.
if anything, have you seen in terms of emails, audios, videos?
Early morning.
Yes, so I've seen videos of Mr. Depp. I think the video was showing right of Mr. Depp destroying, slamming cupboards and breaking glass and yelling at Ms. Heard while having a wine glass in his with wine in his hands. I've seen videos.
So what?
Destruction of property in the
It's
house.
his shit.
Okay. And what, if any, review have you conducted of the deposition and testimony of Mr. Depp's hired witness, Dr. Curry?
Objection.
Sure.
Justice for Johnny is trending number 2. Everybody's tapped in right now. And we got a little break right here, man. Tap into, hey, y'all get the likes up. Look out for the Bossmack Topsoil with this live trial coverage early Monday morning. You know, we doing the best we can to bring this game to you, man. Johnny Depp suffering for his suckerism in here in front of America, suffering from his suckerism, cost him 47 M's. 47 M's witness the suckerism. Amber Heard, look at what she has accomplished out there going through top level individuals. Went from Johnny Depp to Elon Musk to James Franco. We're going to be talking about Elon Musk in the show today, Elongate. We're going to be talking about Elongate. All suckerism in the news. Bossmack Topsoil bringing it to you, man, because they doing it. And all I got to do is talk about it, man. They doing it. Right now, we are live in Virginia, man. Tapped into the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. Shocking the world. Everybody tuned it in. Masculinity is on the line. If it can happen to Johnny Depp, it can happen to you, and you. I can't even imagine if Johnny Depp was black, it would be no slack, it'd be no coming back, and he would be broken down and gone from the track. You know what I'm talking about? But they love Johnny Depp, You know, we seeing Johnny Depp gather steam and redemption right now. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like it's already over with. We just going through the preliminaries. I want to take some time to shout out Camille the Deal. You know, Bossmack Topsoil really love Camille. I like Camille, man. I like what Camille is doing in the courtroom, man. She done went head up with the old bitch. She done went head up with the dude. She's making it happen. She's a legend out there. She's become famous. She's become great. Man. Oh, they about to get it back going. Let's see what it do.
Do you remember my question? Did you review the
reviewed
deposition and testimony of Dr. Curry?
Dr.
Curry.
Yes, I reviewed Dr. Yes, I'm sorry.
And-
Yes, so I reviewed testimony of Dr. Curry. I reviewed Dr. Curry's reports. I reviewed Dr. Curry's testimony.
Get the likes up.
What if, did you review the deposition and trial testimony of Dr. Hughes?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of the disclosure.
I'll allow that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Did you interview Mr. Depp?
No, I did not.
Did you
But-
request to
I
interview?
requested to interview Mr. Depp twice, and both times Mr. Depp and his lawyers refused.
Dr. Spiegel, I'm going to ask you some questions in this case respecting your opinions and the opinions you have formed and the bases for them. And I'm going to ask you to provide me with, in a reasonable degree of medical probability or certainty. Can you do that?
Yes.
Okay. On what were you requested to analyze and opine in this case?
So it's fourfold. One, I was asked to opine about the risk
Opine.
factors that are associated with intimate partner violence and behaviors that are shown, risk factors that are shown in intimate partner violence to be consistent with behaviors that Mr.
What about a
Depp
bitch
has
shitting on the
demonstrated.
bed? What do that have to do with
Two,
intimate partner
I've been asked to
violence?
opine about
What do that have to do
acute
with it?
effects on alcohol,
Shitting on the
substance
bed.
use, and I mentioned that including
What about that?
mood, behavior, cognition, functional impairment. Three,
Can we speak
talking
on that?
about the psychological profile, if you would.
What happens when that happens?
Is there a question? I'm sorry. Oh,
No.
Okay. Of psychological and medical sequelae of patients who have suffered intimate partner violence and perpetrated intimate partner violence, and whether or not Mr. Depp's behavior is consistent with that. And lastly, about alcohol and other substance use disorders, their diagnostic criteria, their medical and psychological effects, psychiatric effects, their cognitive effects, and their functional effects. And I think I would like to just go with the jury one other thing. When we talk about, when psychiatry talks about substance use disorders, it's imperative to understand we're not talking about someone who rarely uses and happens to have a bad night. We're not talking about someone who uses on a weekly basis and has a bad night. We're talking about repetitive patterns of behavior that meet a list of 11 criteria that can be deemed mild, moderate, or severe. Because I think people get confused when they hear the word substance abuse, that they think of, oh, I may have used this because I used it twice. There is a whole criteria of behavior and sequelae and consequences that go with a substance use disorder.
So you're gonna go
I'm not
through
just
that.
talking
We're going
about
through the
someone
list.
who
We're
will
going through the list of
occasionally smoke,
criteria.
or smokes a joint, or snorts occasionally coke, okay, or has alcohol on weekends. So I really need to reiterate that, because I think when you look at psychiatric behavior, we tend to people look online and say, my gosh, I have all 7 of these, right? And they're reading it not quite the way the psychiatric literature is supposed to go. So please, when I'm talking about this, I need you to understand, one, that's what's going on. As I told you about intimate partner violence, it's horrible that anyone would strike anyone, okay? But again, we're talking about repetitive behaviors for means of control. Right. So that's real important to understand when you're moving forward. And I may say
Repetitive
based on
behaviors
substance
for
abuse, but what
means
I'm
of
referring
control.
to is substance use
Objection
disorder.
beyond the scope of the question.
I don't,
Sustained. Next question.
okay. Dr. Spiegel, could you please just summarize for the jury the conclusions you came to with your opinions, and then we'll take you through the specifics.
So in my opinion, based on my a review of the evidence, based on my clinical experience, based on my publishing experience, based on my teaching experience.
Man, come
Mr.
on,
Depp has
man.
Behaviors that are consistent with both someone who has a substance use disorder as well as consistent behaviors for someone who's a perpetrator of intimate partner violence.
What?
Thank you. I'm going to start with the impact of drug and alcohol abuse over time. First of all, based upon your review of the record evidence, what type of drugs has Mr. Depp used?
So Mr. Depp, and I will get, I'm talking about use, we're talking about a substance use disorder here. We're not just talking about use, okay? So we are talking about alcohol. We are talking about amphetamines. We are talking about marijuana. We are talking about cocaine.
Weed.
We are talking about LSD.
How's
We
it,
are talking
man?
about
Come on,
ecstasy.
man.
We are
Come
talking
on,
about
man. Weed.
opiates. We are talking about prescription benzodiazepines. And we'll get into a separate thing about the abusability of Seroquel and or gabapentin or Ron. And we are talking about much of the time concurrent use, meaning simultaneously.
In your practice, do some patients suggest to you that drugs and alcohol actually help them?
So I think it's patients who lack insight or
Dude look
in the
like
very early stages
Christopher
recognize
Lloyd
they have a quote
from
unquote
Back to the
problem,
Future.
will sometimes actually say that they have
I'm old as fuck.
this medication actually calms me down. This medication makes me feel better.
But he looked like
And
Christopher
in
Lloyd.
actuality, they may not
Hit the like button on the way in. Give me the 20 likes, man.
Continual use
Bringing you
takes
this
its
good
toll
trial
on
coverage.
So the answer is yes, but again, people who have substance use disorders have have lack of insight and a lack of judgment about what's going on. They're very poor moderators of their own behavior.
Has Mr. Depp suggested, based on your review of the record evidence, that alcohol and drugs actually help him?
Actually, in review of the evidence, he has suggested that alcohol, Xanax, I'm in the list of medications, do help. Although I will also tell you on review of the evidence that there were at least 2 times I can remember that Mr. Depp was referring to at least short-lived periods of sobriety, and I cannot exactly tell you what that included. That both times he said that he functioned better and that he recognized that alcohol and drugs was at the root of his problems.
Now, there's been testimony that Mr. Depp is quite charming, both off and on the drugs and the alcohol. What is your answer to that?
So, again, let me put one thing clear here. I am not here to impeach Mr. Depp's acting skills or his persona. He has way greater skills than I do in that. What I'm here to say is talk about how drugs and alcohol affect what we all have in common. We're all human beings. We can all only get so much, take so much when something is going to happen. And that's what I see every day in the emergency room, on the consult service, on inpatient psychiatry. Bad things happen, not because of anything special, except we're all human beings and our brains, substance abuse, are not titrated. They're not regulated by the FDA. We don't know what we're getting. We don't know how much we're getting. There is no control over what makes it to our brain. So it is not the actor. It is not the persona, okay? It is a person just like the rest of us who are human beings who will have these effects, and that's what we all share in common. Everyone in this courtroom shares that in common.
When Mr. Depp was in his relationship with Amber Heard, was he a polysubstance abuser?
Was he in what substance abuse?
Polysubstance
Yes.
abuser? Can you explain to the
Leaving
jury
your-
what that is?
Overruled.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so polysubstance abuse is the use of 3 or more substances. And I answer, like I said, concurrently, he was. Even while I was getting ready for rehab on the island, he was. So, yes, he did engage in that.
Did Mr. Depp's drug and alcohol abuse affect him cognitively?
Yes. So, if nothing else to look at, Dr. Blaustein, psychiatrist at Valley, Mr. Depp, did a mini mental state exam on him. And as part of that mini mental state examination, you're asked to remember 3 words and then come back 5 minutes later and repeat those 3 words. And in the meanwhile, you're getting other types of testing for attention and concentration and visual, spatial, and language. So other things that are being tested too. Mr. Depp was unable to recall any of them, and that is very unusual for a 50-ish year old male. I don't know.
Man, this
how
is
old he was
Johnny
when he took
Depp,
that.
man. What are you talking about, man?
Generally
This is
speaking,
Jack Sparrow, bro. What are you talking about,
that
man?
age group should be remembering 2 or all 3 of those words.
Come on, man. You questioning
I do know
questioning
that
Johnny Depp, who
his
used all
lines
drugs.
also fed to
What are
him
we doing?
by earpiece. Again,
You trying to help a bitch?
I did see in
You trying to help the
deposition-
scandalous
I'm sorry,
bitch over there,
deposition
bro?
about
What are
having
you
to have,
doing?
questions.
What
I
about
don't
that
wanna say
bitch that
repeated,
shitted
but
in the
just
bed,
completely
bro? What
forgotten.
about that?
So the answer is yes. And you know, any one of us who use alcohol and cocaine to that level of degree, and I'm talking about a severe level of substance use disorder, are going to have effects. It is inescapable because we all have brains that are malaffected by extensive substance use, and potentially sometimes less, but certainly what we're talking about here is extensive.
What, if anything did you observe from the record evidence about Mr. Depp having difficulty focusing, his attention span, processing?
Hey, man,
what he
come
could
on,
function as an
man.
actor?
Johnny
So-
Depp
Judgment
been
compound.
famous since 21 Jump Street using
Thank
drugs.
you.
So again, in terms of the acting part,
What are we talking about?
We do know that he needed his lines fed to him for movies.
What are we talking about?
Part of that could have been also due to, and I don't know which.
What are
movie,
we
please
talking
forgive me,
about
that-
here, man?
that He actually confessed he did a movie entirely wasted. So I imagine it would be harder
Did
to
a
do
movie
that.
faded.
Additionally, like I said,
Shout
when I
out
looked
to
at that
Johnny
position, you can tell that the processing speed was down. His thinking rate was down. If your thinking rate is down, and I'm not talking about, again, I'm getting older, I'm probably not as sharp as I was at 25, okay? But I'm talking about so slow that when we're trying to move on to other questions, we're still trying to answer the original data that's presented to us. So attention span is very much impaired. And if your attention span is impaired, your memory is going to be impaired. It is inescapable that that's going to happen. So all that comes into play there. And that's what I witnessed in the video deposition. Fortunately for Mr. Depp, I do see that during this trial, his cognition has improved somewhat, which will happen if you are sober. So I commend him on that. But again, I'm specifically referencing the time with Ms. Heard's and Mr. Depp's relationship. So we're talking about that.
What, if any, observations from the record evidence did you have about Mr. Depp having alcoholic blackouts or foggy mind?
Again, there were reported times where he would be essentially, quote unquote, passed out drunk. You saw pictures of him passed out drunk and not being able to remember what he did, which is, again, if you look at the record evidence, you will see that, and this is linking intimate partner violence and substance uses together. I know we're going to get to that, which is basically if you have blackouts and you're using alcohol or using cocaine, it's going to be near impossible to remember what happened the night before. I don't think I'm the first person that's ever told you that alcohol can cause blackouts. And basically, alcohol decreases a brain chemical, glutamate, which is involved in memory formation. If it blocks that to an extensive degree, the individual cannot remember what happened because they didn't have enough time for their brain to process the memory. You need this brain chemical. So does alcoholic blackouts happen every time? No, of course not. But are they a complication of a use disorder? Absolutely yes. And there was record evidence of that.
Dr. Spiegel, you said at one point alcohol and cocaine. Is it possible to have blackouts with alcohol and different types of substances?
Yes. So my clinical experience, and I'll date it back within the last month, we had a patient who was using both, especially cocaine, and she had these kind of stroke-like lesions around the brain center known as the hippocampus, which is involved in memory formation. So
Objection, relevance.
Just giving an example.
Overruled.
Combining the two substances together increases the likelihood, even if you don't get what is a major stroke. And again, we think of a major stroke as someone who has speech difficulties and movement difficulties. There's a lot of different types.
I like
of
this
stroke
dude.
that just affect
I like this
cognition.
dude.
They don't necessarily have to have
His chin is
severe
up.
movement deficits or severe language
Look at the
deficits.
chin up.
They can solely affect
You know
in
how-
terms of
you know how I feel
cognitive
about that?
symptoms, and actually known as a vascular neurocognitive disorder. So
Chin
you
up.
need to understand, and that's part of the psychiatric diagnosis. You need to understand that you can have these insults, these lesions, these strokes, without demonstrating physical features. And at a minimal, we know that he was using both substances.
Hit the like button on the way
So we
in.
know
Get
he
the
had
likes
some of the
up.
issues that we talked about, or at least had some of them.
Thank you, Dr. Spiegel. What, if any, correlation is there between domestic abuse, heavy alcohol abuse, and cognitive disorders?
So, the risk factors, if you would, for intimate partner violence, okay, and there are probably many of them. I don't have time to go over all of them, but the ones in particular, characters in particular, are one, having someone in the relationship who is jealous or suspicious. Two, having someone who has a higher than average acceptance of violence ideations. Three, someone who has rapid and extreme mood shifts. Four, someone who has limited self-control. One of the roles of cognition, one of the roles of our brain, is to prevent inappropriate behaviors and acting out on thoughts. We all get angry at people. That's human. We all get angry at people. We all think things about people. The difference is when our brains are intact and working well, most of us don't act them out, okay? Most of us do not act them out. So that's because your frontal lobe and other parts of the brain are involved in making sure these negative thoughts don't get acted on, okay? So when you have the effects of alcohol acutely, it causes disinhibition, which means you are, by definition, losing control and having rapid mood swings.
Okay.
Two, you are affecting parts of the brain that are involved in what we call social processing cues. So you no longer can interpret what's in front of you that is, I would say, right or wrong, or what I should act on and what I shouldn't act on. So we act on them. Even though sober, and I've seen it with Mr. Depp's record evidence, I've seen it clinically. Sober, we can contain that. We can contain that. But when you have these mixtures together, knowing, by the way, that about 40 up to 60% of intimate partner violence is done under the influence of alcohol and or substance use disorders, okay? Knowing that treating it gets it better, improves, I'm not saying removes it, but improves it. Hearing from Mr. Depp's own...
Amber was doing cocaine and drugs too, though. They both was doing it.
Will show you that given those confluence of factors, given them all lining up, the risk factors, combined with something that when any
Get the likes up.
of us use to a certain amount, if we're novice at it, it'll be a lot less. If we're more experienced and have more tolerance and dependence, it's going to take a lot more. But inevitably, will make us disinhibited and will make us act out. And acting out could be done in a lot of different ways in intimate partner violence, okay? With also remembering control is the end game of intimate partner violence. So that's how they basically interact in a nutshell.
Ms. Bretterhoff, I assume you have,
I have quite a bit more.
let's go ahead and take our morning recess. Ladies and gentlemen, just do not discuss the case and don't do any outside research. We'll be back with you
I'm sorry.
in 15 minutes. We're just,
Sorry, I
we're
talked
just
too
taking a
much.
break.
Morning
We're just taking-
recess. Morning recess. Shout out to the chat. Give me a 1 if you think old boy was credible, and give me a 2 if you think he was not credible. 1 if he was credible, 2 if he wasn't credible. I think he was credible.
All right, let's just take a break till 11 then.
I'm gonna give him a 1.
Thank you.
He was smart. He had his chin up. He was ready. He was a little swift on his feet. But I feel like his criticisms go for Amber too. What do Amber got on today? Let me see. What's up? What Amber got? Where she at? She left? Amber done got up and left already. Where she at? Damn. I didn't even get to see what Amber. Yeah, I had to give him a 1. Yep. His chin was up. He was sharp. He was ready. You know. But I still think that, Amber got to go get, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody out there. I hope y'all niggas had a good weekend. I hope everybody out there was vibing, had a good weekend. I hope everybody was doing their thing. I hope you was getting money. I hope bitches was doing what you wanted them to do. I hope you had no repercussions. You feel me? The Bossmack topsoil is, I want the best for you, man. I want the best for you. You hear me? You see I got on a new shirt right here. Bossmack Auger joint, you know what I'm saying? Bossmack times Auger, you feel me? Some shit, Tiffany and green, you know what I'm saying? Matching the piece up on the wall right here behind me. You know what I'm talking about? Nice and PG, when you want to cop some Bossmack streetwear, go to bossmackstreetwear.com. You could get that right now. It's available now. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of orders. We got a lot going out today. Man, it's been beautiful. Shout out to everybody. I appreciate y'all for tapping into this live trial coverage, man. You wouldn't even think that something like that would be entertaining to watch the processes of a law and the legal system be played out. More intriguing than Pirates of the Caribbean. And we want to see. Arias. All right, y'all. Let me see. Oh yeah, Casey Anthony, man. That's that evil right there, man. Well, I forgot what that Jodi Arias was. What was that one, man? I know that's a white girl killed somebody. I just don't know what it is. Okay. Let me see. All right. So how do y'all think it's going? You think Johnny's still winning? Is Johnny still winning this? Is it moving over? I didn't get to see what Amber was rocking today. You feel me? So I could see what her influence was on the Yeah, I feel like Johnny got it. We just watching it. Watching it play out, you know. I feel like we just watching it play out. I feel like Johnny got it, yeah. But I'm interested in some more. Man, I hope one of the big people come back up to the stand, either Johnny or old girl. I hope a big dog come back up to the stand. Let me see.
Don't advertise on.
I didn't get to see how old girl looked today though. Like, I wanted to see what she looked like. Amber Heard. Day 20. Arrival. You feel me? Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, shit. Okay. Hold on. We still on hold. They still got us on hold, you know. Yeah, man, we going up. Bossmack Topsoil live trial coverage, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to, you know, bring some levity to the situation, you know, giving you know, some real nigga perspective while, you know, real nigga experience and the trial as it unfold, you know, giving you my true feelings in a moment, you know what I'm talking about? And yeah, you know, just giving my impressions. You know, I'm trying to see how it was for Amber arriving at. Okay, it doesn't. Nah, that's 19. I didn't get that. See, I you know, they don't be posting the Amber arrival. You feel me? Like,
Thank you, James. You're welcome. Thank you. Good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you? Good. Very well, thank you.
See, I'm looking for some Amber Heard arrival at court, but you know, I can't find none. I guess it's so bad. You know, they ain't got it on deck. But yo, we in a little recess right now. We in a little recess. We in a little recess right now. Let me see. What's this? Okay. Nigga looking on here at you know, man, I had to go over here to academics, man. I be looking at academics page. I can't help it, man. Look at my cat trying to creep on my plant over there. Trying to creep on the plant. Nigga, cat be eating the plant, bro. Like, what the fuck, man? But anyway, man, I don't know if y'all seen this, man. This is some stupid shit, man. Niggas shouldn't be doing this shit, man. Niggas need to stop. Niggas need to stop, man. Niggas need to stop, man. Niggas be beefing unnecessarily, man. You know what I'm saying? This nigga Champagne Poppy, this nigga Drake and Pusha T say he banned from Canada. Drake banned him from Canada. Pusha T album came and went, didn't it? Niggas' albums be coming and going, man. Niggas' albums be coming and going. I'm gonna tell y'all, man. You know what I starting to notice, man? You know what I'm starting to notice? I'm starting to notice that podcasts be lasting longer. A podcast episode be lasting longer than niggas' album. The effect of one nigga's podcast show be lasting longer than niggas' albums. And niggas be done worked on that album for like niggas be done worked on that album for months, and that shit just come and go in like some days and shit. Like, and it just, I forgot Pusha T put an album out that quick. But the drama from what he said on Drink Champs is more profound and linger longer than his album. That's just an observation, man, you know, about the podcast game, and you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. You feel me? Top of the morning, Monday morning, niggas is in here doing their thing. We in here vibing, man, live stream in the morning. Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. You understand me? The unprecedented. I could say, I want to just send a blessing to a bitch like Amber Heard, for real though. Like, I want to send a blessing and a shout out to a bitch like Amber Heard for showing you that I have never heard of anything more despicable that a bitch could do to show her contempt for you and to shit on your side of the bed. You understand me? To shit on your side of the bed. So many spiritual meanings behind it's spiritual, physical, psychic, traumatic. You understand me? Just to let a bitch is capable of such rottenness. You feel me? And I'm gonna be biased and shitty. You feel me? And say I've never heard of no other type of woman doing anything in that realm of despicable besides killing kids and shit. Or doing bodily harm to motherfuckers. Despicable. Despicable behavior. But anyway, let me see if we ready to get back into court. Let me see if it's back up. They probably back going, man. Let's see. Johnny. Wait a minute. Oh, now they back gone. I know they back going. Let me see. Sign it down. Whack music. There we go. We back.
Reviewed Mr. Depp's video depositions, is that correct? The ones from November 10 through 12 of 2020 and December 14 of 2021, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you reach any conclusions about his cognitive symptoms, insight, and judgment in watching those?
So during the video deposition, what was readily apparent was a gentleman who had a significant delay in processing speed. And like I said, when you have a delay in processing speed, many other cognitive functions are going to follow. You're going to be impaired attention, concentration, memory. All that's going to happen. In terms of having to, the speech process, if you heard the deposition, the way the thoughts were conveyed were much more in the way of kind of disconnected, disjointed statements. It wasn't that they were not necessarily understandable, but they didn't have any coherent pattern until he was more structured by Ms. Bredehoff to kind of get to the point of the question, which happened throughout most of the deposition. And so you could see there that there was obviously some
Get the likes up.
issue that should not be happening.
Get the likes up.
In their mid-50s. And it, probably due to the alcohol and substances.
What, if any, observations did you make
Subscribe
about
to the
impulse
channel.
control?
Tell a friend to subscribe.
During the deposition? Or,
Yes, or,
okay.
and,
Or any
and
other
on the
time?
record evidence either.
So, again, I think that under the guise of not being acutely intoxicated, I think Mr. Depp was able to control much of his behavior, much of his thinking, even if it was aberrant or negative, he was able to control that. I think that
Under the guise
once
of
you start
not
getting to
being
the point
intoxicated.
of adding substances to that, that will set it over. If you saw the video, I think you all did, about the in the kitchen where there was smashing of glasses, slamming of cupboards, and yelling at Ms. Heard that you don't exist. And throughout the deposition of Dr. Kipper, Mr. Depp is firing him and rehiring him and yelling and screaming. And I do believe that a lot of it had to do with the interaction of, hey, we're trying to help you get sober, okay? And it is obviously something you are resisting, not ready for, not wanting. And so you saw a lot of yelling, a lot of acting out, if you would, which puts you on the state of, hey, this is a gentleman who has really significant trouble with delaying gratification, okay, delaying reward. And certainly one way to make that significantly worse is with substances. There's no question about that.
And you may have subsumed this in, but what, if anything, did you observe relating to erratic behavior based on the record evidence?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, when you talk about erratic behavior, Dr. Kipper's deposition, I believe it was, where, and I think I made particular note of this only because I'm a psychiatrist myself. There was a very large ranting about Dr. Cowan, who was Ms. Heard's psychologist therapist. And the language, you can be dissatisfied with your provider, I have no problem with that. You could be dissatisfied and you have the right to go to wherever you want to go to. But the texting that were involved in this in terms of erratic behavior was disturbing in terms of the verbiage used, the phrases used. Am I free to use some of the language, or should I reserve that, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
I can?
Believe me, the jury's been hearing it.
Okay, all right, I want to make sure. I want to make sure. Okay, so it's something along the line that Dr. Kipper is an effing charlatan. He ought to...
Objection, hearsay.
He's entitled to rely on it and to give his examples.
He can talk about what he developed from the hearsay, but not repeat it himself.
He's entitled to give examples.
That's a weak objection.
The objection.
Without giving the exact words that you recall.
Oh, without giving the exact words?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, without giving the exact words, it was basically vulgar language directed towards Dr. Cowan throughout multiple texts, multiple things that Dr. Cowan were doing in therapy. It was, like I said, it was without relaying it, the exact thing. I'm trying to be as accurate as I can. And I think at the end of it, I think he was also talking about that Dr. Cowan was filling Amber with positive thoughts or therapeutic.
Objection, hearsay.
I think he's keeping it more general, and he's entitled to rely on. Thank you.
So more along the line of giving Amber psychiatric jargon to put on him, and actually what I read and interpreted what Dr. Cowan's was getting blasted for was he was kind of teaching Amber how to misheard, how to use conflict resolution in a more appropriate manner and learning to express things more rationally rather than express things as irrational as they have been expressed. And for that, there were a lot of negativity being sworn at. So again, erratic behavior in terms of writing a text, but I have no problem with people being angry. Okay, none whatsoever. It's just the expressing of it and the continual ranting of it was very uncomfortable for me to read. But regardless, I think we have seen in terms of erratic behavior much of the psychological and the physical maltreatment we talked about.
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
I don't agree.
Sustain. Next question.
Okay. Mr. Depp is 58 years old. Are the behaviors that you have been describing for the jury, are those typical and age-related?
No, so while I don't consider 58 years old, I'm 59, okay? I will tell you that the age-related changes that occur in humans are very erratic, hit and miss, meaning they'll occasionally be there. You may need a little bit more time to answer a question or pull things out of memory. Just a little bit slow and a lot more inconsistently slow. You wouldn't describe what Dr. Blaustein's changes were or what I saw on the deposition attributed to age.
Dr. Spiegel, what is Seroquel?
Seroquel or quetiapine is actually an atypical antipsychotic, which is indicated for many things, including schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, adjunctive treatment for major depression. So it's indicated for a lot of things.
But what effects may it have? I mean, this is one of the drugs that Mr. Depp was taking,
yes.
Correct? It was a prescribed drug?
Yes.
Okay.
So
please explain.
So the effect of Seroquel is it's very often used as a sleeping agent because it doesn't have a lot of the side effects that are associated with conventional antipsychotics, movement disorders, tardive dyskinesia, et cetera, or at least it's a very low risk of that. So people have used it off-label, physicians have used it off-label to help them sleep. The problem is the effect is very barbiturate-like, and it really knocks people out, or certainly if you use it at high enough doses it can, okay? And the problem is it also has street value. So it's absolutely used on the street for that downer-like effect. And obviously it's a little bit more readily available because it's prescribed. So it does have that street value portion of it.
And Dr. Spiegel, what effect would this have on Mr. Depp based on the dosages he was taking?
So I think what you're looking at is
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. Please continue.
what you will see in patients who have substance use disorders are people who unfortunately kind of wake up and fall asleep only through pharmacological assistance, meaning that their own circadian rhythms are no longer in control of that behavior. So you will take stimulants to quote unquote get you up in the morning, and then you will take things like quetiapine, Seroquel to knock you out. So basically what these are being used for is, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna get knocked out. And that's very characteristic of what would be actually legal prescribed substances. That's not illegal.
Get the lights up.
That's very legal. And that's seemingly what these medicines effect are on patients who have substance use disorder.
I feel educated by this guy.
Neurontin.
So gabapentin is actually an anti-seizure medicine.
I feel like I'm hearing a college lecture.
It's indicated for seizures, and it might be indicated for one chronic pain condition, although I can't swear that to you. That said, again, in a substance use disorder population, it has significant street value, and people who misuse opiates often supplement that with Neurontin because it has this anti-pain calming effect. So unfortunately, it also can cause respiratory suppression. And so when you use it with opiates, there are people that are unlucky enough to succumb to respiratory suppression as a result, but it has a very additive, calming effect that people use it for.
And what effect would this have on Mr. Depp in the dosage he was taking?
Again, I'm still waiting for the objection. Okay, again, what it would do is have the street value of using it with the opiates. The advantage is you're using it with opiates, and it's because opiates in general, despite everything else it does, are calming. And you use it with it, it offers further calming, which is why doctors have been warned not to prescribe medications like gabapentin and opiates together unless under significant, strict following, because it can cause serious problems, such as death, respiratory suppression.
And Mr. Depp was also taking Adderall, correct?
Yes.
Can you please describe to the jury what that impact would have, and particularly in connection with the dosages?
So Adderall is a psychostimulant, which is prescribed relatively regularly for ADHD. The problem comes again when you shouldn't be prescribing or receiving Adderall when you're already misusing cocaine. Okay, you're now doubling your stimulant dosage here. And basically what you are talking about, again, it comes down to in the substance use disorder population, you are using it to stay awake, have energy, keep yourself going, getting high, getting energetic. And then the only way to kind of combat that, because you have this effect, is to kind of take downers during the day, and downers being anything that's calming. So anywhere from opiates, prescription, anywhere from Neurontin, anywhere from Seroquel, all medications that are potentially...
Yeah, dude, the truth right here.
And so that's what this is going on. That's what the substance use disorder patient has. And it can't be given with someone using cocaine, because that's an extreme risk for death. You can't be given together.
And
people do Adderall and cocaine out here, bro.
If they were mixed with MDMA or cocaine.
So when you combine the
people
two together,
do everything,
like I talked about before, there are
and lean
where you are looking at the predisposing traits of intimate partner violence. So jealousy, rapid mood changes, poor self-control, and to some degree, condoning violence to a certain degree. When you combine them all together, you get this disinhibiting euphoriant effect from cocaine and Adderall. Then when you combine the two together, what happens, you get too much, and then you start getting irritable, you start getting agitated, okay? You start becoming suspicious, jealous, potentially disinhibited, psychotic, and these are the risks. And again, we're talking about not your average everyday use of these substances. We are talking about chronic use together. And we also know that alcohol and cocaine use independently increase significantly the risk of intimate partner violence. These aren't statistics I'm coming up with. They all depend, anywhere from reports up to 7 to 27-fold. So you are, quote unquote, colloquially playing with fire when you are talking about substances and intimate partner violence. You are playing with fire. And that's all of us.
And the substances that Mr. Depp was taking and the record evidence relating to those, did you draw any conclusions concerning whether he met this criteria or these risk factors?
So in terms of substance use disorder, when you look at it, so major role obligations not being fulfilled, don't have any evidence about operating under the influence or not.
Yeah, I think they dragging out the
social issues, especially disagreements and
ratings. This is a lot of ratings.
With your spouse or family.
So I think they're gonna milk it.
Tolerance and dependent for the amount.
They might bring in a couple of extra witnesses.
Naive to these medications.
Shout out to
unsuccessful
Flicks
efforts,
and Sham,
difficulty cutting back,
tapping in from
using
Toronto,
more than intended,
Toronto, Canada,
giving
in the
up social,
building.
Occupational obligations because this. I know there was right after the rehab on the island in Australia when Mr. Depp went out partying with Marilyn Manson. And
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
That's right.
Actually, so that's asking for the record evidence
I'll
for this.
sustain the objection.
That's right.
Okay.
What other record evidence did you
Okay.
have supporting this?
So, psychological, using despite the fact it causes known psychological, psychiatric, or medical effects.
Get the likes up,
That's
y'all.
pretty well documented. So, in this case, you're talking about someone who has a severe substance use disorder. I do want to emphasize, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that
What's crazy is he
violence
talking
is
about
substance
both.
use disorder.
He talking about
Two
Amber
scourges
too,
in this
though.
country.
Amber do all the same
They're two
stuff Johnny
plagues.
do.
This is very serious stuff we're playing with. And when you are just getting someone closer and closer to the threshold.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
This is highly relevant, Your Honor.
I'll overrule as to relevance.
Beyond the scope.
Go ahead.
Beyond the scope of the question.
Yes.
All right, I'll sustain that objection.
All right. Tell me more about the relationships between substance abuse and IPV, please.
Yeah, so again, that you are talking about this and you may be able to control those factors for any of us may be able to control the risk factors for IPV. Any of us might be able to, okay? When we're thinking and we're not disinhibited, not having these hyper intense emotions from substances. Once you add that to this mix, your brain can no longer do what it's supposed to do. And it's supposed to prevent you from doing this, quite frankly, because it's wrong.
Y'all think he a weirdo?
Did you
Is
arrive
he a
at any
weirdo?
conclusions concerning substance abuse and potential self-harm that may have led to Mr. Depp injuring his finger?
So I think the physician before me explained that pretty well, but I'll tell you that Mr. Depp has a history of self-injurious behavior, meaning cutting himself. Mr. Depp has a history of burning himself.
I ain't even heard about the Bill Cosby joint. We got
actual event happened.
That should be live.
There was texting to Dr. Kipper, paraphrasing, not saying exactly, that Amber and him got into a disagreement related to her wanting him to be sober. And then as a result of that, he said he got so angry, he cut the tip of his finger off. So if you're asking me, can someone
Shout out DC Boulder.
have I seen, and can someone who cuts themselves, burns themselves, can cut a tip of their finger off? With or without alcohol or cocaine or the rest, the answer is
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
Exactly what he, overruled. Thank you. Please continue.
Was it overruled?
It was overruled.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So that is not a very far jump. I've certainly seen patients do a lot worse than that who started out with similar risk factors of, burning self and cutting self. I'm not going to get into the descriptions, but I've seen people do a lot worse than that.
Okay.
So the answer is yes.
Okay. I'm going to turn now specifically to intimate partner violence, and I know you've talked certainly about it. But can you tell the jury, please, a little bit more about intimate partner violence and what is included in that?
Man, everybody know what intimate partner violence is.
The APA task
Come on,
force
man.
on violence in the family defined more or less this topic of domestic abuse, intimate partner violence, as recurrent abusive behavior by means of psychological, sexual, or physical maltreatment for the purpose of achieving control or maintaining power, authority, and control.
Can it include threats and intimidation?
It includes, so in the part of psychological abuse, which is done essentially as a means of emotionally and mentally hurting someone, but with the same end goal to achieve control, it can be destroying property, it could be financial, which is part of that, verbal outbursts, threats, intimidation, body language, all of that goes under the concept of psychological abuse. And you may be able to divide it, verbal,
Yeah, that Bill
nonverbal,
Cosby trial is supposed to start
exactly
next week.
Emotional versus verbal, but they're all under that rubric, and they're all under the guise of maintaining control.
Do survivors of intimate partner violence experience mental health issues?
Yeah, this dude is Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future.
Partner violence
They
experience
need to go ahead and keep it pushing, man. I'm trying to hear some more from.
Survivors of, intimate partner violence. And by the way, I should start out by saying,
I want to hear some more Camille.
In psychiatry, we don't expect our victims to be perfect. We don't expect our victims to be unscathed by what they've received. So starting with that, okay, it is not unusual as survivors to see substance use, substance abuse, substance-induced symptoms, chronic depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, or subsyndromal post-traumatic stress disorder along the lines of battered wife syndrome, and some emotional unpredictability. And again, you are a victim here. You are a victim.
Do perpetrators typically seek treatment or counseling?
No, perpetrators are not receiving counseling treatment. One, because they're going to be probably having to tell someone that they actually struck someone, which is what their thought is about the big problem that intimate partner violence is just hitting. Again, important, but not the sole part of it. So perpetrators very rarely will go into any type of formal counseling.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox coming there.
Go into counseling. Victims are seeking actually couples counseling. Victims are seeking couples advice to try to repair what's happening. Okay, but in terms of actual perpetrators, no, they don't do that.
In your review of this case, is there record evidence of physical violence by Mr. Depp?
So,
Objection, Your Honor.
Which approach?
No foundation.
Do you want to approach them?
Okay, we got a little. They're approaching the bench. They chopping it up. He wondering if he fucked up. Did I fuck up? Nah, I'm on point. I'm on point. I got to promote the book one more time before I get off the stand, though. And the Instagram page. Nah, I didn't fuck up. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I said everything right. They can't say nothing about what I said. But damn, I want to still be cool with Johnny, though. Damn. Johnny's still gonna win this thing. I want to be cool with Johnny, though. So, you know, I'm just telling you about these drugs. I'm not disparaging Johnny. I mean, you know, it goes for anybody who uses these drugs. Not just Johnny. How much did he get for how much did he charge him? I didn't even charge him that much. I only charged him $400 an hour. Drugs make you thirsty. Exactly, man. But I don't know. I feel like Amber is a malevolent Hollywood bitch that, you know, hey, she tried to do Johnny in. She tried to do Johnny in. She could have did it a little bit better and just got away with it. She could have did it a little bit better and got away with it, but she was too evil. She knocked too much. Man, when you knock the 47 M's off the plate. Now Disney might be at the level to where they like, man, this nigga can't remember lines no more. This nigga be high. But does that really matter? If the fans want to see Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow, you got to find a way to get him his lines. He could be late. I mean, see, that's what it come down to, man. A lot of motherfuckers, see, that's what it come down to. If everybody want to see Captain Jack Sparrow, Johnny Depp, if that's what we here for, then he can come late. If that's what we here for, he could come late. He could be high. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like Amber Heard, you know, it's a cold thing, man. It's a cold thing. Oh, man. It seemed like, I don't know, man. I think a lot of the Amber Heard shit is summed up in a moment. You know, it's a beautiful thing, man, when you think about it, man. I know a lot of niggas ain't think about this, but it's a beautiful thing. You could sum up the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation in the essence of when she shitted on the bed, right? She shitted on the bed and then went to Coachella. See, it's the two events together. Shit in the bed and go to Coachella.
What have you reviewed that correlates with the risk factors for IPV that related to Mr. Depp?
So risk factor review that correlate. So starting with I guess we'll start with the physical because that was the question that was put out there. What I have reviewed has demonstrated pushing, shoving, grabbing.
Objection, Your Honor.
Let me see if I can direct this a little different than Dr. Spiegel.
He got it right there. See, I knew
Rather
he.
than giving the summary of what that
he seems
was,
worried.
what did you review?
He seems worried.
That correlates. In other words, did you review?
He wants to get it right.
Witness statements? Did you review depositions, photos?
Yes. So what I reviewed was in terms of witness statements, Dr. Kipper's notes. Very, very interestingly, actually, early on in I think it was 2012, or around that time, circa 2012, 2014, Ms. Heard was...
Action beyond the scope of the question.
All right, let's
So I reviewed so Ms. Heard's...
Objection, there's no question pending.
He's answering. Go ahead and answer what you reviewed. Please continue with what you reviewed.
Therapist's notes, counselor's notes, text messages, depositions, video,
He's struggling now.
pictures,
He's struggling now.
psychologists' notes and evaluations, and I said physicians' notes. That's what I reviewed.
All right. Now, you've indicated that intimate partner violence includes physical violence, sexual abuse, and psychological aggression. Can you please describe for the jury what psychological aggression is and what it entails?
So, I said psychological aggression would be the engaging in behavior for the sole purpose of emotionally and or mentally harming someone.
That's what bitches do to niggas.
The main purpose of, again, to maintain
That's what the bitch does that to
with
Johnny.
psychological aggression.
Come on, man.
Include insults,
Oh, yeah.
intimidation,
Yeah,
holding things financially against someone,
yeah.
jealousy, rants, property destruction. So all that is involved.
What is shitting on the bed?
A nonverbal.
What is shitting on the
communication,
bed?
so threatening looks, glances, things like
And
that.
they going to Coachella.
All that is involved.
What is
in
shitting on the bed and
psychological
going to Coachella?
maltreatment and intimate partner violence.
Shitting
What
on the
if
bed
any,
intimate partner violence.
What, if anything,
Is that
would
intimate
be
partner
psychological
violence?
aggression if it was trying to control somebody's career? Would that be a factor?
Yeah.
Section leading.
Overruled.
So yeah, I'm trying to control someone career. That would be under financial, trying to mistreat someone, especially someone wants to succeed and try and have a career, and you're preventing them from doing so by maltreatment. That's another example.
So I'm going to ask specifically about the risk factors for intimate partner violence. Is substance abuse
risk
a
factors.
risk factor for intimate
The
partner
risk
violence?
factors.
Yes, it is a risk
You wanna see-
factor as well as a precipitating cause.
And what record evidence did you review that correlates
Come on,
to
DC
Mr.
Bolden.
Depp
That's why we
engaging in
reviewing this.
substance
That's why
abuse?
I'm doing this, man. It's because he shouldn't even
The
be in
record
this
evidence
scenario.
of
This
the
whole shit is
start with
sucker
Dr.
shit.
Kipper
All of this is
and,
sucker shit.
The substances that Mr. Depp was using and misusing, both in terms of prescribed and on urine drug screen, were brought out through that.
Get the likes up. Shout out
Is
to
lack of
Lawrence Jacobs.
behavioral
What's up with you
control and
people?
Impulsiveness risk factors for intimate partner violence.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And what, if any, record evidence were you aware of that Mr. Depp had exhibited lack of behavioral control and impulsiveness?
Again, threatening.
Objection. Record evidence.
That correlates with, and I'm on the risk factors at this point. Thank you, Your Honor.
Threatening, destroying furniture, property, breaking things, writings on walls, mirrors, writing in blood on furniture. All that would go with that.
Okay, all right. And what, if any, risk factor is narcissism for intimate partner violence?
So a patient, before we get into narcissistic personality traits or disorder, the overall, it's categorized under what's called cluster B personality.
Objection, Your Honor, beyond the scope of the question.
He's explaining the narcissism.
Well, I'll sustain objection if you
Okay.
ask a question.
Can you explain to the jury what's involved with narcissism as it relates to the risk factors of intimate partner violence and
So
what that realm is?
So narcissism patients have, again, poor self-control, okay, rapid mood shifts, okay. As a result, they have an undue sense.
Shout out for that $5,
admiration.
Lawrence Jacobs. Appreciate
They
that $5
worship
right
power,
there.
They worship control. They are.
Hey, man, we
they have
appreciate
lack of
everything.
empathy, and
Blessings.
People are generally kept around as long as they're useful to them. A large sense of entitlement. Anything else?
He's describing what a
need for
narcissist
praise.
is.
So
He's
that would
describing
go
what a
under
narcissist
narcissistic
is.
personality and IPV.
What if
Poor
any,
self-control.
what if any traits would
Entitlement.
be requiring admiration? Would that fit into it?
Yeah, oh yes, I'm requiring admiration, need to be admired.
Are you a
Part and
narcissist?
parcel of narcissistic personality disorder. Yes.
Would being envious fit within that?
Yes.
Fragile self-esteem?
Yes.
And what, if any, record evidence do you have?
Man, he
that
looked
correlates with
brazy.
Mr. Depp being narcissistic?
He look brazy.
Well, I do think
His
that
knowledge is good though.
the
It just
fact that he thought that Amber owed him, Ms. Heard owed him.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The fact that Ms. Heard owed him and only wanted to be together with him because of his fame is an example of that. I do think the jealousy aspects are an example of that. I do think, as I think Mr. Tillett had testified that, being admired is one thing, but then behind your back saying something else about people is another thing. And I can probably say with a reasonable certainty that to some degree this whole trial is that. because I
Objection,
think-
Your Honor.
What's the objection?
That's not record evidence. Speculation.
Overruled.
Please continue.
That this whole trial, in terms of narcissistic insult, is what's going on. I believe that Mr. Depp was very much a mainstay appropriately in Hollywood, and then this was pulled the rug without.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we
I think
be?
he's able to explain what
I'll
he's.
sustain that objection.
Can you explain what you mean by this?
Wait a
whole
minute. It
trial?
seemed like now it seemed like he got something personal against Johnny.
This court case we're going through.
There's an objection, sir.
Him suing this bitch because she fucked up the 47 M's is why we here, man. Why you're right now? See right there. He revealed. Look at her. Oh, she happy. Oh, look at her. She happy. Yeah, she on her Marilyn Monroe shit today.
Well, what other?
Yeah, okay, I see you.
record
Amber.
Evidence that correlates.
She on her Marilyn
Mr.
Monroe shit today.
Depp
Hey, old
having
boy
been
is
narcissistic
prejudiced. I
having
don't
these
like it.
traits.
Okay, he biased.
Was the thing about the trial rule? I can't
Yeah,
speak.
we're not. we're
How
not
he
allowed to say
gonna
that.
criticize him for bringing this bitch to court? Man, what?
The
hey,
only
man.
other thing about narcissism, I think, in terms of the trial, would be in order to
The bitch a
maintain
narcissist too,
any
though.
sense of control.
What did you meaning?
A narcissistic person really has to have lack of empathy.
She don't have no
Because in order
empathy.
to engage in behaviors that, quote unquote, are used to keep individuals in control, you don't really think
That's
about
what she
the
was
other
doing to
person. You're not
him.
really caring what happens
Come
to
on,
that
man.
other person. So I think that's
So you a sucker for believing her over
So-
Johnny, bro.
Are attitudes accepting or justifying
Look
intimate
at
partner
her.
violence a risk
Why they
factor
showing her
for
now?
intimate partner violence?
yes.
She on her Marilyn Monroe shit.
Do some perpetrators in intimate partner violence try to minimize
trying to sway the jury.
the IPV?
Yes. So it is unfortunately not uncommon, especially during the calm phases of the abuse cycle where there is no increased tension, there is no acting out. Okay, you were talking about more of the honeymoon apologetic phase, begging for forgiveness, telling them how you're going to change, maybe giving them gifts. And then when the dust settles later in the day, a day or two later, it is not uncommon for the perpetrator to kind of switch the blame over to the victim, saying that, hey, you know, this either denial, this never actually happened, and trying to make me look bad, or an allopathic defense where you instigated it, or an altruistic effect where I'm doing it for you, transformative effect.
Man, if you don't stop caping for this bitch.
Common for all of us for that to start shifting during that time, because it is during the calm phase and everything is relatively calm. This, of course, is when the victim wants to engage in treatment. But beyond that,
Man.
the ability to kind of quote unquote, for lack of a better phrase, win people over, family, friends, the law. I mean, the very ability to do that is part and parcel of that calm, charming phase.
Oh,
where it
man.
looks like the
This
victim
dude right here,
is,
man.
You know,
He nice, though.
fabricating
He's
it.
smart. He just don't like Johnny.
And is victim blaming a characteristic?
Yes, like I said, I mean, to blame the victim, that one of the defenses are the allopathic defense comes along with victim
Get
blaming.
the lights
That's what it says
up.
you're doing. I'm blaming you for what you made me do.
Okay. And is there record evidence that you reviewed that correlates with Mr. Depp engaging in this type of behavior?
So I think for a lot of the issues seen, the big precipitant was going to be the need for sobriety. Coming back to that severe
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
I think he's trying to explain it. Thank you. Please continue.
There's severe substance use disorder, and many of their arguments, but what I reviewed in the record, stemmed around Ms. Heard's desire for Mr. Depp to maintain sobriety, and that what was happened. So as a result, she was blamed for, you know, bothering him in a way he didn't want to be bothered.
Man.
And that triggered what was going on.
Are you familiar with the term gaslighting?
Man, he like her. He
I'm
like
familiar with
Amber.
Okay, what, if any,
This motherfucker like Amber.
Is consistent with intimate partner violence and the risk factors?
So again, when you start being able to be, when a person starts to be able to be manipulative and charming, you start to be able to win people over. And especially when you see someone who's a victim who is essentially vulnerable, emotionally labile, okay?
I stand
You see
with
that
Johnny
person,
Depp.
and then you see this calm demeanor in front of you who's very charming, very engaging, very personable. And then all of a sudden it starts looking like the victim is
Justice
just
for Johnny Depp.
essentially losing it, and i.e. they're being gaslighted.
Is there examples where an intimate partner violent perpetrator claims that the victim is the person who's actually committing the abuse?
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
How common is that?
That's very common. Again, that's
Christopher
part of
Lloyd
that's
is up
very
here
common, the occurrence of the
caping for Amber.
the honeymoon phase.
He's
and the
smart,
calm period,
though.
The abuse cycle.
But he
Very
caping for
common at that
Amber.
time, where the victim, where they're shifting the blame, or
over there looking like
anything along that line.
Marilyn
It's very
Monroe,
compact.
nice.
And you indicated that you
Marilyn
reviewed some
Monroe,
audio
the
tapes in this
librarian.
case, correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, evidence did you review there that correlates with Mr. Depp attempting to claim that Amber was the one?
Well, I think that was what was said, that Amber was the abuser.
Objection, Your Honor.
I don't understand the objection.
What record evidence?
Overruled.
Thank you. Please continue.
So that claiming that Amber was the abuser in this particular scenario. And what I will reiterate again is that, one, victims are imperfect, and two, it is not uncommon in the context of being a victim when you know that person is about to proceed or relapsing to a substance or going to a substance and anticipating what's going to happen, that you anticipate the next move and start initiating self-defense. But by and large, that's not what's going on here. By and large, Mr. Depp, behavior
Objection, Your Honor.
was consistent.
There's an objection, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay. All right. We can move on to the next one. Is prior victimhood of abuse a risk factor for intimate partner violence?
Yes.
And what?
So-
Go ahead.
There is something known as the intergenerational theory of violence, which is basically along the line of observation, imitation, reinforcement. So you observe a behavior that occurred in childhood, you imitate it when you see that there's no significant negative consequences, but you do get the positive consequence of maintaining control of a situation, solving the conflict in your way, if you would. So that theory is, interestingly, it applies to not only the victims, not only the perpetrators, but also the victims, because there are many victims who grow up in a house of abuse that are not abusers, but they're the victims of abuse.
What are the warning signs of intimate partner violence?
So warning signs would be increasing the tension, escalations of tension. So that's when you start seeing, hey, partners getting angry, okay, starting to break down the communication, starting to engage in verbal, nonverbal threats. Victim concedes due to this tension, and that leads you to the actual act. So these acts progressively build, and then they occur.
What, if anything, have you seen in intimate partner violence about apologies and promises?
So again, the apology is part and parcel of the honeymoon phase, and promises are part and parcel of the honeymoon phase. And, the victim wants to believe it's going to work. They want to believe their spouse is going to be faithful to this. And as part of the abuse cycle, it ends up, as I should say, in the calming cycle, like I said, the victim tries to get some help to try to resolve this until the tension buildup phase where something bothers them. So again, it could be bothering someone about substance abuse. It can be bothering someone about finance. It could be bothering something about your career. Anything is liable to build up tension when you have this framework of limited self-control and erratic, intense.
I like how he breaking it down.
So what, if any, record evidence
He
did
came
you
in for
review
Amber.
that reflected Mr. Depp engaging in these warning signs, including the apologies and the promises?
I think that was almost routine, that after it was all said and done, that he would apologize for letting this monster out, letting this anger out, almost routinely. And there's very well record evidence of that starting as early on in the marriage, in therapy from Ms. Heard. So that's very common and very much occurred, recognizing what happened. And the other part of this is, again, when you can recognize that when you're sober, even short-lived sobriety, when you could recognize that things are better, things are happening better, life is better, then even that should show you that, hey, there's an issue here. There are issues here that when I don't use can be resolved.
Thank you, Dr. Spiegel. I'm going to now move to the Goldwater Rule. Can you explain the Goldwater Rule, please?
So the Goldwater Rule is when Senator Goldwater was running for presidency, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think it was in the late 60s when he was, early 70s, because I was too young to even follow politics then, so please don't quote me on exactly when it was. But basically what's happening is clinicians, psychiatrists were making these quote-unquote armchair diagnoses from their homes or offices because they saw this person on TV, the way they acted, and were asked to comment about what they think their diagnoses are. And therefore, it was felt that that should not be done by professionals.
Camille is the deal. She up for real bitch of the year.
Does it have any applicability here?
No. it does
Objection.
Or why not?
No foundation.
He was explaining what the Goldwater
You
Rule
want to
was.
approach?
Camille is the deal, up for real bitch of the year from Nick. Yeah, man, dude is he's caping for Amber really hard, like Amber is innocent. He's caping for Amber really hard. I trip off of dudes like that just take up for the bitch regardless. Like, they just get on the bitch side. The bitch has no flaws. Wrote off all the foul shit he done heard about the bitch. Is Johnny Depp. Can't see Johnny Depp as just an old ass trick. You feel me? Can't see Johnny Depp as that. Like, hey man, I'm just I'm just an aging sex symbol dude that, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to have a young bitch on the team, man, and the young bitch is just disgusted with me, man. And once I realized she was disgusted with me, I'm trying to wheedle my way out. Then she just want to do me in and get me for my bread. You know what I mean? Like, but Christopher Lloyd can't see that. He only see the bitch. He sees the sweet bitch over
Dr.
there.
Spiegel, do you remember the question?
Writing off that she shitted in the bed.
Does the Goldwater Rule have any applicability here to your testimony?
Get the
and
likes
your
up.
Conclusions and opinions.
No, it does not.
And
for
why?
Multiple reasons. One, the
Whoa.
basics of expert witness testimony would almost be thrown away if you are not
You
allowed
got
to base things on
highly
what you
qualified
evaluated of an individual, what you've
guy
read about
on
an
the stand
individual.
talking
So
about-
I'm not allowed to comment on records or charts or information that I looked at.
Drugs and
Expert witness
violence
testimony
between
can't be done.
people.
But more specifically for this case,
Courtroom full,
in the Goldwater Rule, the pure
judge,
version of it
lawyers,
was the armchair
the world
diagnosis of
watching.
watching someone on TV.
all because
Just,
of sucker
you don't make
shit.
a
All
diagnosis. More
because
recently, I think that's even more recent. We've had
all
examples.
because I put
They
a
don't make
bitch on the
diagnoses
team
like that. This is not the case
who was
here.
absolutely
Because
faulty.
like I said to you at the beginning, I have reviewed
And I used no
a
discernment,
lot of
had no
professional,
discretion, no
a lot
discernment.
of professionals and their evaluations and their treatment
I
course.
told a bitch I was gonna marry her the first day I met
Video
her.
deposition, picture deposition, court filings, emails. I mean,
Then she moved into my house with all her friends, brought all her friends with her.
Describe.
And every day they
Mr.
tried to
Depp and
figure out
his
ways to
behavior.
catch me
So,
slipping.
I'm not commenting
Make
on
me
a
look
public
bad.
opinion, and I have absolutely no
So she could hit a lick for
knowledge
7 M's.
of what's in Mr. Depp's history. If I was just doing
And
that,
then a
I'd be
bitch so
watching
evil and
the movie, but
malevolent.
That's not relevant here.
That she
in
gone
fact, I
ahead
think
and
you
knock
testified
off
earlier
40
you
more
invited
from my
Mr.
plate.
Depp to
Oh, yes.
give an
And again,
example.
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Thank you.
So, to
And he
to
up
be
there
fair, for an evaluation, for my own direct evaluation. Again, I was offered twice that I can do an evaluation of Mr. Depp directly. And
Look at him.
times Mr. Depp and or his lawyers decided that that wasn't going to happen.
Okay. And in
Negative
fact, the court
Johnny
did not
Depp
require
talk.
Mr. Depp to.
No, and the court did not require Mr. Depp to undergo this evaluation.
Yeah.
Dr. Spiegel, these opinions that you
Dr.
have offered
Spiegel.
here, do you hold them to within a reasonable degree of medical and psychiatric probability of
Spiegel.
certainty?
Absolutely.
Spiegel! Sound like Smeagol from motherfucking Lord of the Rings. Spiegel. Spiegel.
Sir, I'm Wayne Dennison. We
He's
haven't
the
met.
Gollum.
But
Oh, the
let's
doctor is
start
the
with what you
Gollum.
finished with.
He's
I'm sorry, one more time.
Let's start with what you finished with.
Spiegel.
You understand that the court was twice asked by Ms. Heard's counsel to order a medical exam of Mr. Depp, and those motions were denied.
I think your team told the court you didn't want to have them, and the court ruled on them, right? I don't think the court proactively did it. You kind of had a motion to them, right?
No. When Ms. Heard's lawyers moved for them and asked for them and did not get them. Isn't that right, sir?
If you're saying that's what happened, my understanding of was that you all did not want him to undergo one. They petitioned for it. The court said no. Yes, that's what my understanding of it was.
The court said no to ordering Mr. Depp to do the medical exam.
Right, that's what I said. The court did not require it, right?
And there was one that was ordered, in fact, right?
There was.
All right.
Somebody's told a lie. See, he's like, wait a minute. Let me check my notes. I know I didn't tell a lie. Let's see how
All
they
right,
frame
so
it.
the last thing you talked about was the Goldwater rule.
Yes, sir.
Been around for almost 50 years, right?
Yeah, I'm 59. That sounds about right.
Yeah. And it's been around as a result of a presidential election that you referenced.
Yes.
And who has that rule? What organization maintains that rule?
The American Psychiatric Association.
An association you're a member of?
Association that I'm a member of, yes.
Yeah. Aren't you a fellow or something?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, and this is an ethical rule, right?
It is an ethical rule. And yes, it's ethical. They say rules. It's an ethical guideline. Yes, they're guidelines.
Mm-hmm. And you know that over time, the American Psychiatric Association has amended the rule so it's not just about diagnoses, but it's also about professional opinions.
Could you be more specific, say, about professional opinion in regard to what?
Well, let me read this and see if you're familiar with it. It is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion about an individual based on publicly available information without conducting an examination. That's the rule, right?
If you're reading it directly, I will believe you.
Okay. However, a diagnosis is not required for an opinion to be professional. So my question is, it's not just diagnosis that this Goldwater rule applies to, it's professional opinions.
So again, I will reiterate that would come down to essentially nullifying witness testimony, expert witness testimony, without a direct evaluation. And as we know, it didn't happen. But regardless of that, the whole expert witness testimony thing would be basically rendered null and void.
The rule, in fact,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that 21st.
Again, I'm just telling you the answer to the question. When you're reading me those statements, I'm telling you the response by the other side, who is publishes also, is that if that was the case, there could be no expert witness testimony in the courtroom.
Psychiatrists are ethically prohibited from evaluating individuals without permission or other authorization, such as a court order. That's the rule, right?
Again, if you're reading that, then I have to believe you're not misrepresenting it. And I would come back to, again, then this whole thing on, we might as well get rid of all the expert witnesses we've had throughout all of time for court proceedings. Because what you're saying is unless a court orders it, and that's what you just said, or the APA said, then therefore expert witnesses cannot do an evaluation based on an observation of the medical records. Insurance companies cannot do evaluations solely based on medical records where their doctors rendering professional opinions. So at the end of the day, you are essentially saying that unless someone has directly evaluated it, this whole medical system we have, this whole legal system we have is null and void.
I'm not saying...
No, yes, you are, sir. No, you are.
Well, give me a second. I'll give you more than a second. What I'm
Christopher Lloyd.
saying and what I am reading to you is a rule by your organization that takes into account that there could be court orders that would permit the exact kind of evaluation that you say I'm eliminating.
And I think we're going in circles because I think I just said that means expert witness testimony would not be allowed, and the branch of forensic psychiatry would be especially hindered. And we know the branch of forensic psychiatry does not prohibit that. So I am a member of the APA. That doesn't necessarily mean every single thing they put in there, everybody has to uncategorically agree with, because clearly that's not the case.
Did you agree in your deposition that the professional opinions you rendered were inconsistent with the Goldwater rule?
Yeah, my first place, if we're saying that if the Goldwater rule says, and I very much said that during deposition, that the Goldwater rule was made for presidents and public figures such as that, but regardless of that, because that's what it was made for, it's not made for Hollywood, but I'll even take that Mr. Depp's a public figure. What I'm saying to you is that the Goldwater rule is saying we cannot do any expert witness testimony in our field. That is exactly what the Goldwater rule is saying based on exactly what you read. And I'm just telling you what you are saying that rule encompasses.
What I'm asking you, sir, is did you comply with the ethical requirements of the APA when rendering the professional opinions that you've rendered today?
It is a requirement of the APA. It is not the requirement of the APA. Secondarily,
so the answer is no?
Secondarily, again, in order to not, we wasted our whole morning because there was an expert witness before me. There's an expert witness everyone brought in. So all I'm saying to you, that means the whole field of medical legal law is corrupt and unethical for engaging in an act that the APA clearly says we should not do. So if you're saying that, then the answer is yes, I'm agreeing with that statement.
You're agreeing that the APA would deem your testimony and your professional opinions rendered unethical?
I'm saying you are saying that I'm an expert witness. I'm saying as an expert witness and solely as an expert witness, that guideline is permitting that from occurring. I would say then that the whole field of expert witness testimony, again, would be disavowed by what you are quoting in the Goldwater rule. And we know that's not the case, because if it was, we would not be allowed to do it.
And you said the rule was for presidents, right? And
that was initially for presidents, yes.
Well, and the name of the rule came from that. But the rule says it is unethical for a psychiatrist to offer a professional opinion about an individual. That's right, sir. It's not just presidents, it's not public figures, it's individuals.
Funny, it was named after them. According to your logic, if you don't put something in the title, it's not true. That's what you told me this morning, I believe, at my intimate partner violence. So what I would say to you then, sir, is that if you say this about an individual, again, any court would have to render an expert witness testimony invalid. Any doctor that reviews charts would have to render it invalid. I can go on the list of docs that do not see or interview patients directly, and that's a violation. So basically, you are saying that unless you do a direct clinical evaluation, then all of the field of forensic psychiatry and all of managed care is doing an unethical violation because we are not seeing the presence. We deny patients medications all the time without seeing them. We deny patients treatments, unfortunately, without seeing them. And I'm on the receiving end of that. So the answer to your question, again, unless you were saying to me that all of this is unethical, which is what you are saying. This is how I'm interpreting what you are saying to me. That unless you do the evaluation directly yourself, therefore, it cannot be considered ethical. And I'm telling you how that's applicable to not just expert law, but also managed care, and applicable to multiple branches of medicine. Hospital duration of hospitalization stay, they get evaluated. So tell me where you want me to end this.
Well, why don't we talk about what you just testified to? Because I didn't ask you anything about that. I asked you whether, under this rubric, under this principle of medical ethics, have you acted unethically? Yes or no?
No. As an expert witness, I have not acted unethically. And if you want the jury to believe that expert witnesses are unethical, then I guess that's for them to decide.
Yes or
that's
no,
for them
sir.
to
You
decide.
said no. Let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Right? Psychiatric diagnosis occurs in the context of an evaluation based on thorough history-taking examination and, where applicable, collated or collateral information. You'll agree with that?
I believe I said that earlier, yes.
Yeah. And it's a departure from the methods of the profession to render an opinion without an examination and without conducting an evaluation in accordance with the standards of psychiatric practice, correct?
Well, again, by the way, for the record, intimate partner violence is not a psychiatric diagnosis. I'll start with that. Substance usage by themselves is not a psychiatric diagnosis. If you want to cut to the chase, psychiatry is not a diagnosis of that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. Ergo, I am basically commenting on the things that were brought to me, which are not diagnosis. But an evaluation, if I was going to treat a patient or anyone here, those are the steps I would take.
We, I think, started with the notion that this rule applies broader than diagnoses. It applies to professional opinions.
I believe you just quoted
professional opinions relative to narcissistic personality traits, haven't you, sir? Relative to Mr. Depp.
Again, I believe you just commented on what it takes to do in a psychiatric evaluation to establish a diagnosis. I'm almost certain that's what you said. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you didn't say that, but I'm sure you did. And therefore, what I'm saying is neither IPV nor substance usage, nor narcissistic personality traits a psychiatric diagnosis. And then under the rubric of expert witness testimony, you are saying I acted unethically under the rubric of expert witness testimony. So if you, sir, would like to proceed that expert witnesses are unethical, based on that, I am not going to sit here and disagree with you and waste everyone's time. I think it's fairly obvious. So thank you. Go ahead. These were your words. I'm just saying them back how they're interpreted.
Okay. Let's start with the easy question then. Maybe we can.
That was pretty easy. Go ahead.
All right, Doctor, you're going to have to just answer the questions.
Okay. Sorry about that. Getting into it.
You need to just answer the questions,
Okay.
Dr. Speaker.
He want to scrap.
Not rendering any diagnosis whatsoever of Mr. Depp today or ever.
No, I probably would say to you that certainly I would not say narcissistic personality, or I would say traits. Certainly from what I have read, intimate partner violence is not a diagnosis. So the answer is no for that. Narcissistic personality traits is not a diagnosis. The answer is no. But if you want to tell me that substance use disorder is a psychiatric diagnosis, the answer is yes.
But that wasn't an issue, was it? Whether Mr. Depp used substances? I mean, you said you've gone through the record. That wasn't really an issue at this trial. He's said it from day one.
Oh, so you're saying he's already admitted to the diagnosis?
He's already admitted to the use of the substances.
Well, again, there's a difference between admitting to substance use and substance use disorder.
Let's go back to what you just said about narcissistic personality traits.
Yes.
Narcissistic personality disorder is a DSM-5 diagnosis, correct?
Correct.
Diagnostic personality, and you haven't testified that Mr. Depp has narcissistic personality disorder, have you?
I would certainly, if I didn't, I'm certainly thinking that, but at least I'm going to say he has traits which are characteristics of
Johnny,
provisional diagnosis.
you
It's a
wait,
provisional
calling me a
diagnosis of probably
narcissist,
narcissistic personality. So, but yeah, I mean,
Johnny, like, okay, I
When you
say
say provisional diagnosis, you know the DSM.
I'm a narcissist, huh? Not the bitch. Okay, all right.
5 of the 9 factors.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't done that analysis. You've never made that diagnosis. You've just identified certain factors.
that are criteria for the diagnosis.
Right. But you need 5 of 9 to get to the diagnosis. You've already told us that you didn't make a diagnosis. You're just identifying traits, correct?
I'm identifying traits that are consistent with the diagnosis, yes.
What's going on? What's going on, man? Let's go. I'm gonna have to change. I'm gonna have to. Wait a minute. That's the imp. Let me see if I can fix that shit. What's going on, man? Let me see. That shit tripping, man. Let me see.
This is called a snap indenture or an overdenture. This is on the up.
An answer that's addressed to that question. Narcissistic personality disorder is a risk factor for IPV, yes or no?
Yes.
And you previously testified that there is no literature at which you are currently aware that the mere presence of narcissistic traits is a risk factor for IPV.
Am I answering the question?
Yes.
That's incorrect.
You didn't testify that.
Cluster B traits, which narcissistic personality disorder is part of, is a huge risk factor for intimate partner violence, which include, cluster B traits include narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, amongst others. So the answer to the question is every resource on intimate partner violence will support that cluster B traits, where narcissistic personality falls under, is a risk factor for intimate partner violence.
Any single trait is a risk factor for IPV.
Again, I will repeat, cluster B traits. I didn't say any trait. I said cluster. No,
Let me be more precise then.
Okay.
Any narcissistic trait in and of itself is a risk factor for IPV.
But you are mischaracterizing what I said. What I said, I'm pretty sure I said cluster. If you look at all the intimate partner violence literature, and I would behoove you to do so, you will see that cluster B traits, I didn't say narcissistic per se, cluster B traits, where narcissistic personality disorder is part of, are risk factors for intimate partner violence, part and parcel, uniformly true. And I'm not sure, the thing I don't understand is, I'm not sure why we're arguing psychiatry, because I'm telling you what it is.
Dr. Siegel, you just need to answer the question.
So you want to talk about cluster B, so let's do that for a minute. Borderline personality disorder is a
Siegel
risk
getting
factor
emotional up in there
for
with his
IPV.
intellectualism.
As part of cluster B traits, yes.
histrionic personality disorder is a risk factor for IPV?
Less so.
But it
Less so. Less so. I mean, it's a risk factor, but less so, yes.
Yeah.
Less so. Significantly less so.
All right. So which traits under narcissistic, before I move on there, there's only been one diagnosis in court of personality disorders, correct?
I'm not sure who you're referring to. Are you referring to Mr. Depp, Ms. Hurt? I'm not sure what you were talking about.
Do you understand that there was a medical examination done of Ms. Hurt?
Yes, I did.
Do you understand that the testimony was ultimately that Ms. Hurd suffers from 2 personality disorders?
Okay, so I'm just being specific. I just wanted to know if you're talking about Ms. Hurt or Mr. Depp. So that's all I was asking you.
Yes or no to my question?
Which was there's only one diagnosis of, Ms. Hurd was diagnosed with that.
Yeah, and both of the diagnoses are in cluster B, and both of them are risk factors for IPV.
But both those cluster B things are, I'm not allowed to comment on the testing, so therefore, all I can say is that cluster B traits, and I'll tell you what they are, and by the way, I testified this before, which was that, 1, I don't expect perfection from my victims. 2, absolutely there are cluster B traits Ms. Hurd had. Absolutely, Ms. Hurd had.
Given that you've testified to it before, let's move on to a new question.
Okay.
All right? You indicated in your opinion today that you thought, well, why don't we move a little differently? Are you a member of the American Medical Association?
No.
Okay, so you don't know what the ethical rule of the American Medical Association is relative to doing clinical diagnoses about individuals you've never talked to.
So you're saying in terms of doing expert witness evaluations, under that rubric, right?
I'm just asking you, do you know the AMA's rule?
You're saying the AMA's ruling under the rubric of not doing evaluation with somebody you did not see, and I'm questioning, I'm asking, so you are talking about expert witness testimony?
No, I'm talking about, do you know the rule?
I'm not a member of the AMA, so I don't read the rubric.
We can move on, you don't know the rule. All right. You rendered an opinion about Mr. Depp's reported cognitive impairment.
Yes.
I think this is a baseline.
A baseline for processing speed?
Yeah, for analyzing Mr. Depp before you watched his deposition.
What do I use a baseline for that?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess my baseline would probably be how I've seen him interact in public. How I've seen him interact with others. I've seen him interact in media. I've seen him interact and his process speed is certainly not slow. I've seen him do commercials. His process speed was not slow.
At deposition, didn't you say that what you did was compare Mr. Depp's performance in lots of pirate movies against his deposition testimony?
What I said was I've seen Mr. Depp do apology ads. I remember he did apology ads about no delay in process speed. I've seen him interact with the media regarding to that. I saw no delay in processing speed. All I'm saying,
let me ask you about pirates, though. You compared pirates to the depositions given in this case.
And I apologize for what I said.
You didn't make the comparison?
Right now, just a second ago? Just a second ago? I may have said that I misspoke. I apologize, I misspoke.
He's a professor.
Because you know you can't.
This is what you call smart stupid right here. This is smart dumb motherfucker right here, bro. This is smart dumb motherfucker. This is what a smart dumb motherfucker is on the stand right now. If you ever heard that term,
what we know about each other, I would say your process speed right now is not slow. So, I mean, we're judging processing speed. I'm just saying to you.
He's trying to clean it up.
So, but no, any of Mr. Depp's
all
other
the flaws in
portrayals
us human
in
beings.
movies, did that affect your
Now he's
analysis
trying to
of
clean it up.
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it.
Right.
When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you? You see in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory?
Willy Wonka,
Did you look
motherfucker.
at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Come on, man. Snap out of it. Snap out of it. It's the same shit, bruh. Yeah. You mad. You mad.
Do I have to answer that question?
Yeah, you do.
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
That's what we're here
You
for.
happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka as a. I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened. No, I did not.
All right. You made
Camille laughing at that
in
nigga.
your deposition. That
Oh, finish him.
need to be better at
Finish him. Finish
That's
him.
correct, isn't it?
100%.
All right. But with respect to acting, you know that actors actually rehearse for their parts and work on the language, diction, timing of their dialogue as part of that rehearsal.
Jesus Christ.
If you say that's, I'm not an actor, so I don't know what goes on. I can't tell you. I
Oh,
have no
now
idea
he's
what goes on.
mad. Now he's mad.
But
He's mad
You
now.
don't know enough
He's
about
mad
acting
now.
to know whether
He's mad now.
Sir, I am not an expert at acting. I have no idea
Look
what an
at
actor
you,
does.
man. Come on, man. You're so technical about everything else, but you don't know what you can't imagine what actors do to prepare, huh? You don't go to plays and stuff like that, huh? You
during
know,
your deposition, what were the circumstances under which you decided to call Mr. Depp an idiot?
he called him an idiot.
I'm just somebody call Mr. Depp an idiot?
Yeah, you called Mr. Depp
He
an
called
idiot.
him an idiot because he wants to fuck
I
Amber.
think it was in the
He wants to
context.
fuck Amber.
I think it was in the.
He wants to
probably should read
fuck
the
Amber.
context of it, because I think the context
He wants
was.
to fuck
And
Amber.
I'm trying to think back.
He
and I'm trying
wishes
to
he
think
could
back,
fuck Amber.
Okay, and what I thought it was
Hey,
related
he wants to
was
fuck
if you're
Amber.
Coming to
I know
some
he does.
deposition,
That's why he's doing
okay,
this.
And again, I'm thinking back, so
Maybe.
you have it in front of you.
Maybe if I
don't.
could help
So,
her win.
I'm thinking back where
If I could help her win, she'll call me by the house and be like,
video deposition
I
that he
really
gave,
appreciate what you
and
did for me,
he
Dr.
took it
Spiegel.
overnight the night
Spiegel.
before, and what I think I said was
Dr.
that if you're
Spiegel,
going to take
I appreciate
if
what
you're
you
going to
did
do
for
a
me.
major thing to a trial that you're involved with, I just
she's-
think you'd be an idiot to come in the night before.
All right.
So I didn't call Mr. Depp an idiot. I certainly called that planning
Yeah.
an idiot. I didn't call him an idiot.
So the words, so I mean he's an idiot, are mistranscribed?
Again, I said it in that context, just read one line, one snippet. I'm sure we have context. I
They
just-
paid
again, you have it
him.
In front of you, I don't.
They paid him to come.
In your professional opinion,
I wasn't running professional.
But he's smart though.
psychiatric
A
opinion,
smart dumb motherfucker.
that
A
follows
smart
the goal.
thirsty motherfucker. He wanna fuck.
how does it
He
follow?
wanna
that-
fuck
I just
Amber.
said that I'm not rendering a professional opinion. I just said idiot. That's
He
not-
mad.
So idiot is not a
He
professional
mad.
opinion. Is it your practice to describe people as idiots?
Oh,
In my practice.
yeah, boy, look at that. You do you what?
Cases as idiots or patients as idiots or victims as idiots. No, sir.
But you sat for a deposition in this case and described the plaintiff as an idiot, correct?
Position. And if I said the word idiot, it was an idiot.
He killing him.
I wasn't making him an idiot. I don't know. So therefore, if I said it was an idiot planning.
Oh,
Which is what I
killing
meant to
him.
come across as.
Damn.
So you
Dr.
did say
Spiegel.
his overall functioning.
Dr.
And you made some
Spiegel.
testimony today as to some
Smeagol.
evaluations you made
Oh,
relative to his
Smeagol.
functioning. You would agree with me that it's probably a good idea to think about the questions that are asked you in a court proceeding.
Smeagol wants to
before
fuck
answering.
Amber. I'm telling
Can I
y'all.
answer that question?
Yes.
Trying to tell you.
So what I meant by functional, I said that actually, I believe
That's
it's
why he's
easier
doing this
report
to
how late
himself.
he was showing
That's
up
why
at
he
every
risked
movie
this.
while the cast
That's
was
why he's
waiting.
mad at
That
Johnny.
would be an impairment. If I showed up late for that, I would not be here right now. I would not have a job. Okay.
Yeah.
I believe that the thing was in terms of
Look at it. He's mad.
walking out
He
of
hates.
treatment for
He hates
substance
Johnny.
rehab that his doctor is prescribing
Hates
for him.
Johnny.
So if you're asking me if that's an impairment
Spiegel.
of functioning, I would say I'm very much substantiated.
He
in
hates.
that.
Spiegel
I'm
hates
trying to
Johnny.
understand how you got to this notion of cognitive decline. And I thought it was based at least in part on the manner in which he testified.
I'm sorry, what?
On the manner in which he testified.
On the manner, I'm sorry, I'm not being difficult. I can't hear. I'm sorry. On what?
I was asking you about the cognitive decline
Yes.
testimony that you made.
Yes.
And it was my understanding that at least a portion of that testimony that you rendered was that you derived some evidence of cognitive decline from the way Mr. Depp testified.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I said, yes.
Right. And so all I'm asking you is, don't you think it's a good idea when you're in the middle of a court proceeding to answer questions carefully?
Again, professionally, we diagnose patients with a neurocognitive disorder by gross evaluation all the time with cognitive. On the thought that, again,
Yeah,
age
Seven the
normally
Gentleman. I don't
controls-
know, man.
I'm just saying, age
I
normally
feel like
controls does not put a 58-year-old gentleman.
he
at
compromised
that
himself
process.
because he
That's
likes
all I'm saying.
Amber, bro.
That's all I said.
That's what I think.
And
He
you
compromised
derived
himself
this
because he wants to fuck
without
Amber
ever
low key. He
once
think that
talking to
he
the man.
thought that if his testimony killed Johnny,
Because we know how I drive.
she would
So you're
call him
telling
by
me
the
directly
crib, bro. I'm
talking to him?
trying to tell you, man. I know you like
I've never
Bossmack
talked.
tripping right now, but
And
he wouldn't do that to himself. He wouldn't
exam
jeopardize
he
his credibility like that.
Well, you did talk about Dr.
But
Blaustein,
but
right?
why would you hate on Johnny though?
And
Like,
you understand that
You feel me?
the entirety of Dr. Blaustein's medical records are 12 pages of
he
handwritten
looking over
notes.
there at that bitch. He looking over there at
important part
Marilyn.
was what I
She
said.
look like Marilyn Monroe
For me, an example
librarian.
of cognition,
You feel
which
me?
I'm trying
Like,
to prove, which is what you asked me. The important part was what I said, and that was irrefutable.
The important part is that he gave the mini mental status exam.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's
Let's
a
talk
cognitive-
about the mini mental status exam. It's scored on a 30-point scale, right?
Yes.
All right.
yes.
And it's
You
a-
see how he
it's
answered
an
that?
exam
He mad.
It's most often used for
He mad.
Alzheimer's, dementia, those kind of.
He mad.
It's an exam that tests cognition in all
mad.
psychiatric illnesses, not just
He
Alzheimer's.
mad.
It was made for dementia for Alzheimer's, but is the standard, has been the standard for testing cognition in all psychiatric illness, substance use disorders
Look at this
included.
professional white man on the stand
Now-
is mad.
There is an element of that.
No disrespect to white
exam
people, man. I'm just,
that
you know,
requires drawing, correct?
I'm just, you
Yes.
know.
So you don't know what drawing Mr. Depp did or whether the drawing should have been fully scored.
I wasn't questioning his visual spatial perceptual skills, which is what that does.
Right. And you don't know what score Mr. Depp received on the exam.
I was very specific. I know not remembering at 5 minutes. That's all I said.
3 words, not remembering 5 minutes, and he remembered one of them, right?
From what I understand, you didn't remember any of them.
All right. Memory on the exam, out of the 30 points, what's it worth? 3. 3, right? Memory is 3 out of the 30.
Yeah, memory's 3.
Okay.
But again, the memory section in and of itself tests memory. That's the only question that tests memory. Only section that actually tests memory.
So the memory section tests memory.
Precious, that's a good one. That's a good one. Amber is precious.
With
That's a
respect to
good
the
one.
exam that you're relying on,
Oh,
scored 27 out of 30.
And that would be telling, though, cognitive, if you scored 27 out of 30 and you missed 3 points on memory. That would be very telling.
You don't know if Mr. Depp had been up all night the night before.
Again, you wouldn't expect to not recall any words at 3 minutes unless there's a cognitive issue.
You don't know if Mr. Depp was high.
And again, now if that's, again, now that could affect memory, but I'm not refuting that. I'm not refuting
got
that
you.
at all. He could have been high, he could have been drunk. He could have been using cocaine.
My cat
and that
in
would
here telling me
absolutely affect his memory.
go put some
Yes,
food in the
you're
bowl,
right.
nigga.
So ultimately, you have no
Really
idea
doing that.
what state
Go put some
Mr.
food
Depp
in the
was
bowl, nigga.
at the time he took the exam that you're relying on.
Short of what you just said about drugs and alcohol, okay, there shouldn't be a reason why a 58-year-old also with strokes and other neurocognitive conditions, but short of that, there shouldn't be a really good reason why someone at that age shouldn't come up with at least one. But an answer,
But wait a minute, you started that question with short of drugs and alcohol. You spent 35 minutes talking about his use of drugs and alcohol. Isn't that right?
I thought I agreed with you. I think I agree. That drugs and alcohol
Killing it.
absolutely affect cognition. Sir, I agree, but I'm not sure if that's a problem. I agree with you on that.
So you don't know, one way or the other, how he scored on the exam. You don't know whether he was at the time on drugs and alcohol.
I just like
But you're gonna
Amber.
rely on it
I just like
in your
Amber,
testimony
man.
to say that he's
You know what,
cognitively
man? I just like Amber.
Which is what we do.
I'm
in
just trying to
clinical
help
medicine, sir.
Amber.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
You rely on tests that you don't know when it was administered, you don't know the score of
I just like
the
Amber.
test, and you don't know the state of the person being tested, but you're going to rely on it anyway.
Again, if we had to know
Man,
every test,
if it wasn't for
when
Amber,
people
man, I
get the
wouldn't be
mental state
here.
exam, we have no idea clinically if they
Amber
are high,
called me, man. I
wasted,
just was like,
stoned,
is this Amber?
stroke. We have no idea. So if you're going to say that, that means everybody needs a drug test before they do a mini mental study, and that's not
Man,
the
she
standard of
invited
care.
me by the
And I
crib,
think you know
man.
that. So
Tell me about the case, man. I could tell.
Let's talk a little bit
I could tell she wanted to
about
hit.
this word you
Wanted
kept
me to
using,
hit.
correlation. You know the word, right?
He like Amber.
Correlation and causation aren't the same thing, are they, sir?
no, they're not.
No, how are they different?
Get the
Correlation
lights
is
up.
consistent with causation is direct link.
Can you say that again?
Mad.
So
He's
fast that-
mad.
Sorry about that. Correlation is a risk for something happening. Causation is a direct link.
What?
Right. So just because something's correlated doesn't mean it's going to happen.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Like lung cancer, for instance. Smoking is very highly correlated with lung cancer, right?
Yeah, and there's certainly a link to lung cancer and smoking.
Right. But not all smokers get lung cancer.
Not all smokers do. No one, like I said, no one fits the curve perfectly.
Right. And you made repeated testimony to all of us. All of us do this. All of us do that. Mm-hmm. Your suggestion about all of us is you're just looking at the world as a sample and not at any particular individual, correct?
What I'm looking at is that I'm not talking about an individual, how they can or cannot be resistant. What I'm saying is invariably, when you use substances, this is going to happen. Now, is there a 0.05% chance that someone who does? Absolutely there is. But is that medical degree of certainty? Absolutely not.
A 0.05% chance of what, sir?
Of eventually developing symptoms. If you're using excessively, eventually you're going to develop symptoms.
All right. But risk factors tell us nothing about any one particular individual, do they, sir?
No. Again, risk factors tell us nothing except that they have it, they're at a higher likelihood of developing it. That's what tells us.
But you did a whole litany of risk factors relative to IPV.
Litany.
Yes.
Right. And none of those risk factors tell us anything specifically about an individual.
Other than they're at higher risk. Right.
Right. So someone could have every single risk factor for IPV and never commit IPV, right?
It would be, again, if you're going to say a medical degree of probability, the answer is they will. But if you're saying uniformly, the answer is no.
Right. IPV can occur without substance abuse?
Oh, sure.
someone can abuse substances without ever perpetrating IPV?
Again, absolutely. But again, you are saying different than what I said. I did not say abusing substance. I said substance use disorder. Those are two different things, because there are surely people who use substances that do not engage in any violence, do not become psychotic, nothing at all. So
And that's
absolutely.
equally true of people who have substance abuse disorder. There are certainly people who have substance abuse disorder who don't commit IPV, correct?
They are saying people who have substance use disorders, the majority of them, over 50% do. So over 50% do. So that's medical.
The answer is yes.
As you said, not everyone who smokes gets lung cancer.
So there are significant numbers of people. You said it was over 50. So you'd say 40% of the people who have substance abuse disorder don't commit IPV?
And those are the ones that do not have IPV risk factors, right? So we're talking about people
Wait a
who
minute.
don't.
Isn't substance abuse disorder and IPV risk factor?
Oh, yeah. These are other people that don't have other risk factors, right?
But again, we're talking about people in general. You don't know anything about any particular individual as to whether anybody's going to commit IPV.
If statistics follow through, all we can say is more than 50%, 70% will. If you combine more risk factors you have, the more likely you're going to develop the illness. If you smoke cigarettes once, that might not correlate to lung cancer. If you smoke it chronically, that might.
Right,
So that's all I'm
we're
saying.
talking about individuals here. You either have lung cancer or you don't, right?
If you're smoking.
Right.
Right.
You either commit IPV or you didn't.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you either did or you didn't, yes.
Right. So you took some issue with me because I was asking about substance abuse generally, and you wanted me to talk about the disorder. I asked you earlier about narcissistic personality disorder, and you haven't made that diagnosis. You've just talked about the traits, right?
Yes.
And somebody can have these narcissistic personality traits and substance abuse disorder and never commit IPV, right?
So, along that line, about 80 to 90% of people who commit IPV have a personality disorder. So the answer is less than about 10% obviously do not.
Right. There are more close links with IPV for borderline personality disorder than narcissistic personality disorder. Correct, sir?
I'm not going to agree with that.
No?
I'm not saying there are more links. I would say to you, there are absolute. If you're asking me if there are links, the answer is absolutely. If you're saying to me more, I can show studies say yes, so studies say that. That has not been absolutely definitively correlated. No.
No.
Absolutely not.
Johnny Depp is sitting up there going, why did this motherfucker dislike me? And I don't know him. I don't know him.
MDMA.
It's because he likes amber.
What is it?
He likes amber.
Ecstasy.
Yeah. And what's the normal dosage of ecstasy for people who use ecstasy?
Again, I couldn't tell you the quote-unquote normal dose because, honestly speaking, no one knows what they're getting.
Casino C, what's up, witches?
But the effects of ecstasy...
Man, we in here watching this shit, man.
At low doses, the answer is yes. I'm going to
We got Spiegel on the stand right now,
the sympathomimetic effects,
compromising his
which are not so
career
enhanced
because he like amber though. Got up there putting his shit in jeopardy
again
because he want to
at
help
low
Amber
dose, you are
win.
100% right.
He
At
don't
low
like
amounts, you are
Johnny
100%
Depp
right.
on
It is an
GP.
entactogen. We feel closer to people. That's what
Feel
people who
me?
use it say. They feel close to people. Warm
So
to
he done got
people.
caught up in a lot of bullshit.
But with
And he getting
continued
handled
use
right now.
and higher
He getting
doses,
handled.
It could be fatal.
This motherfucker.
Right. So that's not well-being. I don't know.
And
if
this
I
is
call that
smart.
well-being.
This is a smart, dumb motherfucker right here.
Doses MDMA can be fatal, correct?
Correct.
What if you took 8 to 10 tablets of MDMA?
What if you took
He act like he ain't heard about how she shitted on the bed, though.
What it's
My bad, I forgot. She blamed it on the dog.
contaminated with.
And of course, it's
Okay,
possible
you
for the
can't just
dog
say, hey,
to
let me
do
just
it.
take 8 to 10 pure ecstasy and see what happens. That's not going to
Could
happen.
no bad
So
bitch
what
do
I'm
that
saying
and then
to
go
you,
to
again,
Coachella the
because
next day?
substances of abuse are unpredictable. They are not regulated. No one knows what they're going to. No one absolutely has any idea whether it's going to cause this empathic and tactogen effect.
Casino
at
shit,
very
you
low
know
doses,
niggas be wishful
or is it going to
thinking,
cause
man.
the
Come on,
sympathomimetic,
man.
I'm sorry, increase.
She might have invited him by the crib.
It's like a stimulant, like cocaine and stuff we talked about.
You know what I'm
No
saying?
one knows what's going to happen. It's not regulated.
I wanted to talk to
And
you
no
about
one
the
knows if you're
case.
using with other substances either.
Let him see the
Like
titties up close.
stimulants.
You feel me?
Or if you mix it with alcohol.
I
or
appreciate
mix it
your
with
help.
No one knows
I'ma
if it's
do
going to
the
be
best I can,
potentially
Amber.
worse.
Right. But
Amber,
this
I'm
is
gonna
a
do the best I
potentially
can. That
lethal
guy's an idiot.
combination. 8 to 10 MDMA tablets.
Thank you so
This
much.
is a potentially toxic combination.
Right.
Can it kill you?
So
Yeah,
now-
I mean, it is a potentially toxic combination. That's true.
Here he is up on the
Ever heard of
stand,
someone cutting
compromising
their
his
own finger on
career
MDMA?
for a bitch.
Have I ever heard of it?
Yeah.
No, I can only give you one
How in the
example.
fuck you
Hadn't
gonna
seen
get
that one.
mad at Johnny Depp off the
So,
rip without
Seroquel.
foundation? How can you not consider
That one
that
puts
this
you to
bitch?
sleep, right?
Didn't you hear
If
about
you
her
wanna
shitting on
phrase
the
it more
bed?
bitchy,
Nah,
putting
she
you to
couldn't have
sleep, then
done
the
that.
answer is yes.
She's too
Yeah,
pretty
you
to
heard
do that.
Mr. Depp talking about sometimes
She's too
being
beautiful
on
to
and off,
shit
right?
on the bed
And again, I think I explained
and mash
Seroquel
it
very
in
well
it
this
and
morning.
put the
I'm
blanket
asking you a few
over
more
it.
questions.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She's too pretty for that.
All right. You
I
kept
wanna
making
hit.
references to street value. Why were you doing that?
Because that's why people with substance use disorder use quetiapine and Seroquel. That's why people who use quetiapine or slash Seroquel
Get the lights up.
It sells on the street because it's so barbiturate-like in effect.
Right, but you said that Mr. Depp had a prescription.
There are many substance use disorder patients who have prescriptions for Adderall and quetiapine from their doctor, and that doesn't mean they're not getting high out of it. That doesn't take much. Doctors like to believe what patients have to say. They're not going to go in there being expert witness testimony. All I'm telling you is that in people who have substance use disorder, it is not uncommon. And the thought was initially that because quetiapine was not addicting, that it's safe to give in people with substance use disorders, when in fact, we absolutely know it has street value. Absolutely know that for a fact.
Right, but my point about this is you made a bunch of testimony about street value, but you knew at the time you made the testimony that Mr. Depp, in fact, had a prescription.
He also had a prescription for oxycodone and roxycodone. Does that count? Because that's also probably not a good thing.
Look at him trying to find a way. He's trying to find a way. He's trying to find
Just
a way.
because you have a prescription doesn't mean you can't abuse it.
No, I'm not suggesting you're abusing it. I'm just wondering why you.
I already said that's Christopher Lloyd. I told you.
Value when every single drug you referenced, Mr. Depp.
Christopher
had
Lloyd.
Again, you can have prescription substance abuse, and we know that.
Back
Correct?
to the Future. Smeagol.
We can have prescription substance use disorders.
Smeagol
That's
turning
not
into
common.
Gollum.
The opiate
He's
epidemic
starting to go
we're living in
Gollum,
right now.
Gollum.
We can have that. That's not an uncommon thing.
You just want to fuck Amber. I'm waiting for him to just say that.
So-
you just trying to help
Seroquel,
Amber
I
because she
think
said she was
described
gonna
as a
give
sleeping
you
agent
some
when
pussy
used
probably.
off-label.
When I saw what?
Sleeping agent, Seroquel, when used off-label.
When used off label, it's used. I can be used sleeping agent. Yes.
Right. So, Mr. Depp's use of Seroquel could account for some of the photos we saw in this trial, where he's asleep in a chair.
Again, what I would say to you is that if
Get the
you have a
lights
substance
up.
use disorder, you are using it to be knocked out. Yes, I agree, but I'm not sure at the end of the day if she'd have vomitus over you either, because I've never seen Seroquel do that. So when he was passed out in the chair, he also had vomitus over him. I've never seen Seroquel do that ever.
Neurontin is another one of the drugs you testified about. That one's also prescribed, right?
Yes, it is.
And what's the prescription for that?
What's it used for? And what's its indication, or what's its used
What's its indication?
I mean, its indication is for seizures. It may have one pain indication. Again, I'm not a neurologist, so I can't tell you exactly if it does. But it's chronically used off-label for pain. It's used off-label for anxiety.
Right. And what's its effect? That's another one that'll put you to sleep, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, sure, 100%.
Right. And
super facts.
There's been testimony around that picture that Mr. Depp fell asleep with ice cream in his mouth. That's not vomitous, right?
I was told it was vomitous.
Okay. You talked about the fact that
They
Mr.
laughing
Depp,
at his motherfucking ass.
indicates that from time to time
Camille
he
like
uses
Johnny
an
though.
earpiece.
She got his back.
Yeah, I mean, I read that, yes.
Okay.
Man.
Did you?
Johnny Depp legal
The
team is
testimony of
beating the
Mr.
shit out of
Told you
motherfuckers.
what was being pumped into that earpiece?
He getting his stripes.
I think
He
it was
getting
lines,
his
right?
stripes today.
No, it was music.
He get my
Music
stripes.
is on his line?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if Mr. Depp was listening to music rather than being fed his lines, does that change your opinion as to his cognitive function?
If he was never fed his lines through the earpiece, which I know he was, but read he was, and that may have been that example. Mr. Wyatt may have said that it was music. I guess the question is, were you having the music during the actual talking of your lines? Is that what you're saying to me?
Well, you know, if you can do two things at once, that's a pretty high cognitive function, isn't it, sir?
You know, it's a very good point, actually. Divided attention is something humans have a lot of trouble in. So, for instance, we have trouble driving and putting on the, using our cell
Look at him
phones
trying
and
to be
work. So divided
shitty.
attention, humans
Look
actually
at
are
him
not
trying to
very
be
good at.
shitty.
I'll put that out there.
Yeah.
In general, not just Mr. Depp, in general.
But Mr. Depp is
Yeah, shitty ass bastard.
that early on.
Absolutely. Well, better than me. So I know
Man,
that.
this is such a
'Cause you
good
don't act. In fact, you
way
don't
to
know
watch
about acting.
human behavior played
You're
out.
right. I have no idea about acting.
And you don't know how
Sucker
prominent
behavior,
use of
sucker
earpieces
shit. You
are
get
in
to see a living sucker right here.
Again, I know nothing about acting.
He just want to fuck Amber. All of this is I like
Respect for the
Amber.
fact you know nothing about
All of this
acting,
right
you
here.
testified that
See,
Mr.
Johnny
Depp
see it in
using
him.
an earpiece
This motherfucker
is
want to fuck
somehow a
Amber.
cognitive
This
deficit.
motherfucker. Why is he up here fucking himself with his bed?
I would think there's a cognitive deficit. So and maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe Hollywood stars get lines fed to them through earpieces.
And the cameraman ain't even showing the bit.
That could be said. It sounded to me to be unusual if you're doing a movie and you don't know the lines. But like you said, I'm just judging what I do with lectures, and that would never happen.
If you
what?
Use an earpiece, but you're not going to tell anybody how to act.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
He want to fuck
If you
Amber.
give lectures, you wouldn't use
See,
an
Johnny,
earpiece,
no.
but you're
Johnny,
not
this
telling
motherfucker
anybody
want
how
to fuck
act.
Amber. What this
Well, I would not use
bitch?
an
Amber
earpiece to
done
give lectures.
fucking just rubbed this
But I
motherfucker
don't know
head.
what the standard
This
is. I care
motherfucker
about
up
the
here
standard is
compromising his
Hollywood, so I have
career
no idea.
for this bitch.
Your testimony about the use of an earpiece.
Bro,
as,
the audacity of this motherfucker.
maybe you were wrong.
Questioning a motherfucker who owns islands, millions of dollars,
Because I think
questioning
in the
his
face of what I've
artistic
read,
process,
I'm comfortable,
motherfucker.
but I don't believe that actors are routinely given their entire script through earpieces. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah, and not one whit of evidence that this ever happened here.
I guess what I said. I just said I find it hard to believe. I didn't say it.
See,
I said
Johnny-
I find it hard to believe.
Right there,
That's all I
Johnny
said.
looked like
But what you found
I
hard
make
to believe, sir,
millions
was
and
that
millions of dollars.
Every line of the script was pumped through an earpiece. Where did you ever get
I
the
do,
idea that
That's what I read. And they
I made more money than you in one movie
And,
in your whole life,
You know,
and you questioning what I do.
Whether isn't he dead?
Yeah.
So the answer is no. He does not use one now.
I used the past tense, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know nothing. I will concede to you, I know nothing about acting. I will concede to you 100%. If that is the standard and people are done that acting, then I apologize and that was wrong on my part. If that's the standard, I'm wrong. I don't know.
Man.
Let's go with that. No further questions.
His confidence
As long as you're
shattered and
Let's
destroyed.
go ahead and break for lunch, then,
Handled.
ladies and gentlemen. Again, do not do any outside research.
Fell
Do not
apart.
discuss your testimony with anybody, okay?
Oh, man. Amber getting motherfuckers fucked off. Amber, you dirty bitch. You got these motherfuckers up there fucking themselves off for your behalf. Talking on the screen for you, bitch. You rotten bitch. What the fuck? You gotta get away from that bitch, bro. You gotta get away from a bitch, bro. You gotta get away from that bitch, bro. You hear me? Jesus Christ, man. Jesus. Amber. He walked right by him. Johnny Depp walked right by him and looked at him like, you motherfucker. And let me show you how my prestige, I'm walking out the back. I ain't walking through the front. I'm watching on the back. Shout out everybody. How y'all doing, man? Okay, man. Okay. You know, shout out to the chat, everybody in there, the Bossmack top. So, hey, man, I'm going to tell y'all, man. I appreciated, let me see, man. I'm going to tell y'all, man, I appreciated, that, man. You know what I'm saying? I appreciated that. The doctor started out strong. He started off strong. I liked the doctor. At first, he explained his credentials. He seemed like an intelligent man. He had his chin up. And then he revealed himself as hostile toward Johnny. You know what I'm saying? And the Bossmack topsoil just, I just, I'm surprised at his anger. You know what I mean? And you know what I'm saying? So I accuse him of wanting to please Amber. You feel me? Like, he just really want to please Amber, and he jeopardized himself now. The lawyer, I ain't gonna lie, I thought the lawyer was having the trouble in the beginning. You know, I was wanting to see Camille out there, you know, because I'm a Camille fan, you know what I'm saying? But old boy got going and got to, you know, getting off on old boy and revealing, you know, weaknesses in the structure. So it's lunchtime. Bossmack Topsoil got to do a couple things. And, you know, we're going to come back. I guess probably about an hour or something, I guess, and pick her up. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? The process, the law, human behavior up on the stand. You understand? Yeah. Shit. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out.